Hey, what's good, what's good, what's good? Welcome to Reflections of a DJ, the R.O.A.D podcast presented by DJ City and Beat Source. I'm one of your hosts, DJ Crooked. We got DJ Never.
Yo, what up?
We got Jamie the Great.
Yeah.
And we got, one of the illest roundtables, that we've had in a minute. This is going to be a great episode. I'm just letting y'all know. We have three very important motherfuckers in music, DJing, nightlife here in Vegas. They're probably the three biggest ambassadors of hip-hop in this city. Mm-hmm. From the very beginning to where hip-hop is today in Las Vegas, these three had a major impact in the city. And they're very, very important. So, I want to introduce them one by one. I might call him the mayor of Las Vegas, the Funk Flex of Las Vegas. Ooh. Resident DJs at Dre's, Bay Area's finest. We have DJ Franzen in the building. What's good?
It's an honor to be around, and I don't use this word lightly. You guys are all legends, so I'm blessed to be here.
Definitely.
I mean, we're not no Drake songs, but yeah, sure.
Yeah. And he just got subpoenaed for a case with the Cardi B microphone throwing incident.
So we'll talk about that.
Yeah. Bob and weave over here.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. And the second guest, one of my favorites, founder of The Source magazine. He's responsible for bringing DJs like Mark Ronson, AM. He's had a hand in nightlife at The Win. Very important dude. I love it when he's on the podcast. We have Shecky Green in the building. Good, Sheck.
A pleasure to be here as well.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
And actually, the one responsible for initiating
this conversation,
this whole conversation, this episode. Yeah. I give it to you, Sheck.
I'm not really responsible. Somebody else is responsible.
Yeah.
But actually, Crooked and I had a nice chat. I'm sure we'll get into it. That's what led to this. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And this next person, he's one of the most important figures here in Vegas for hip hop.
Facts.
From the early 90s, DJing at the Suge nightclub, 662, getting his record, broken in half by Tupac himself.
Yes.
He's one of the first DJs when I came to Vegas in the early 2000s, maybe even late 90s, that I heard DJing and mixing house and hip hop. Mm-hmm. He was the resident at these big room clubs from R.O.A.D to XS. He's one of the founders of a very important record shop here, this hip hop site. It was the premier record shop for hip hop and club music for all the DJs in the city.
In Las Vegas.
I mean, this dude has so much bones. He has so much of his hands in the dirt in this city of, pushing the culture forward for hip hop. And you guys should all know his name. He's a very important person. DJ War and Peace in the building.
The man.
What up? So this is the coalition for this episode, which is really, we're going to get down to the nitty gritty on the history of hip hop in Las Vegas, especially nightlife in Las Vegas. We want to talk about this. And this episode was initiated from a recent guest that we had on, it was Clint Sparks. And he was making these claims, and throughout the show, he was making all these claims. One of the biggest claims that kind of like really rub people the wrong way. He had a lot of claims, but he was claiming that he was the first to bring hip hop to Las Vegas, and I'm gonna play the clip for you because War and Peace.
People hit me up, but I never saw it.
In the late 2000s, you were on the E Entertainment channel, right?
That's how I became the first resident DJ in Vegas to be on billboards in the back of taxis. That's how hip hop came to Vegas, because of Clint Sparks. Challenge.
To me, AM was the first hip hop DJ to get $1 million contract.
100%. AM paved the way for people like me.
Right.
AM was mashing up, but not a straight hip hop DJ.
But there were straight hip hop parties, like Shecky Green.
Yep. Shecky. I'm not saying no one ever played a hip hop record, but no one's ever in here like, even though what we do is wrong, and like Dipset sets and Rockefeller sets, Asher Roth, Tony Braxton, Tyrese, Neo, and Paris Hilton on stage with me at the same time.
I mean, we were doing that.
How about this? Nobody knew. When I say that, I don't want you to be offended. I know you guys were playing hip hop here, so when I say that, I don't mean like no one's ever touched a hip hop record.
Oh no, I'm telling you, we're not offended, but we know some motherfuckers that will get offended.
That was great.
That's a clip. That's one of the many claims he was saying. I mean, he said a bunch of stuff from. He was the first to put sound effects, on the radio. He was the first to have name drops on production
on records.
There was so many claims that he was saying, but that was probably the most boldest and outlandish statement that he made. And obviously, about a day or so later, Shecky texts me. I mean, Franzen, we were talking for a little bit too.
Yeah.
But Shecky hit me, and he was. You were like actually really livid when you heard this shit, right?
I mean, I would say that it was just strange that somebody like that, because I know Clinton and I've known him for a long time, and he's done a lot of good shit. I mean, he's not like he's contributed to hip hop. There's no doubt about it. Mm-hmm. But he was making statements that were just on the surface, just false and ridiculous. And it was just, I knew that the first people I thought of were these two guys, because I knew that the city has a long history of hip hop, especially with Warren being here for so long. Mm-hmm. And then I thought about, you played that little clip about AM, but that's the part that really made me the most offended, because that's actually a little bit separate in the conversation. Like, he goes on a big rant about how he's the guy that brought hip hop to Vegas, however you want to define what that is. He was the first guy on billboards. He was claiming all this stuff, but actually, when it came to that kind of a plateau, it was actually AM that did all those things. It wasn't him. And anytime AM obviously is not around to defend himself, it really, that's the part that offended me the most, because I wanted to step up for him. And as we were chatting about it, it turns out that the best way to do it, I think, is to tell the whole story of how hip hop really started in Vegas, and how, especially hip hop DJs, and the broadest definition of what that means, from the locals in the beginning to bringing, more prominent people over a period of years. Yeah. And I was, and among these other guys, I was lucky to be around for some of that early stuff.
Yeah, I mean, when we were talking, Shecky was kind of executive producing the episode a bit, and we were like, yo, Shecky, come on. And he's like, well, if I come on, Warren's got to come on. And they were like, well, we got to have Franzen on. And we're like, yo, let's try to get all three of these motherfuckers on and really talk about the different eras, right? And the stages of hip hop evolving and impacting the city to where it is like right now. Like, like people just like in the past 10 years, people come to Vegas and they think Dre's just existed forever. Mm-hmm. Like there was a presence of hip hop in this city like Dre's. And it's really definitely not the case. No. But I want to talk about when this episode came out with Clint Sparks, the reaction, the comments on that clip were just there was a couple of things. Everyone was insulted. Mm-hmm. Every DJ from every city was insulted. But what was kind of fascinating was everyone had a different history. So everyone was saying like War and Peace. Nah, y'all gotta talk about War and Peace. A lot of people were saying, nah, Franzen. And then people were mentioning AM.
Yes.
And then, everyone was saying something, but it was kind of like no one really knows the full story.
Exactly.
And I think with Vegas being kind of like, I don't know, with hip hop in Vegas and what Dre's is, and with all the performances and the rappers and coming into the city and the city being what it is now, I thought, and, Shecky and I thought it was important that we kind of set the record straight, especially after this Clinton Sparks episode. Because I believe Clinton Sparks hit probably each one of y'all and apologized in some way, behind the scenes. He didn't apologize to you. No. He didn't DM you, but no. I'm sure he was DMing you guys. I mean, there was a bunch of DJs. I think E-Rock initiated the episode for us. He's like, E-Rock. Yeah. And he was tight.
He was livid.
He was livid. E-Rock was like, yo, Crook, I'm sorry. Like, this shit happened. I'm like, yo, like, it is what it is, but
Yeah, I mean, I will say he did reach out to me, but I didn't respond because I knew that we were going to have this conversation. I thought it was better to let it out in this sense, in this way, definitely. Not to start a dialogue prior to this. It wouldn't have felt right.
Warren, I want to talk to you. Let's talk about the climate of Vegas and where hip hop stood when you were kind of coming up, and this is probably in the early '90s.
87, 88.
Late 80s.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, let's start from there.
So one thing I got to give props to is before me, there was Frankie and Rob. You had Frankie, Rob, and DJ Twin. Rory Mack was from Chicago. He brought stuff out here. This is like the breakdancing craze days in there. So I got to give props to them because before me, it was those guys. Those guys were here. Frankie, R.O.A.D was at Palms. Right. DJ Frankie. I'm sure you guys in Vegas have heard that name. He's been around for a while. Also, Rory Mack ran the record pool here. He was a big influence from the East Coast that came out here. There are a few others. The Twins were there. So before me, it was them. So I came here like in high school, senior year in high school, I came here. And those guys were all over the radio. So I started following those guys where they were going. And then jumped to college. I jumped on KUNV. And I was doing all the alternative. I was assistant music director, which was awesome because I got every free record. That's when I realized why everyone was the fuck on radio. I was like, oh, you get free records. Oh,
Facts.
this is why. I'm like, so, and being on a college radio station and no one having a hip hop show, I got all the hip hop. And they had no place to put it. And if they wanted another copy, I would just call the rep and get another copy. But I also got all of the alternative. So my brain was just like exploding because I had to go through every alternative record and mark all the cuss words. So I got to listen to every alternative.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So every alternative record, everyone from, Ministry, Skinny Puppy, R.E.M., Lenny Kravitz was new then.
Wow.
Like, so I was marking up all those records and keeping all the hip hop records. So they gave me a hip hop show there, and I started that hip hop show probably in '89. I want to say '89, maybe '88. I'm not good with years. Wrath of My Madness was big.
That was 88.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Wrath of My, I don't know years, I know songs.
One of the best 12 inches of all time.
Yeah, Wrath of My Madness.
opinion.
Yeah, we had a test.
Pause.
Oh, that's a pause.
He said one
These
of
are
the best.
DJs.
best 12
okay?
inch, yeah.
He said one of the best 12 inch of all time.
He's gonna look at like. But yeah, so I mean, so that started, and then I was doing the college radio station and the hip hop show, and then this promoter from Africa came in town, and he wanted to do hip hop downtown. There was a place downtown called Fremont Reggae and Blues. It's where Neonopolis is now. And that was like a shops, that was like stores. And this was this long ass like rectangle. And one side was blues and one side was reggae. And on a Sunday, this promoter came in and said, he found me on the radio station and said, I want you to spin this hip hop club. I want to be hip hop. I'm like, okay. There was nothing in town. So I would just be on the radio. They'll come this Sunday, check us out. So I was playing like Farside was big. 6 months before Farside. That was
Early 90s.
91,
Yeah.
91,
Pass it-
92.
Yes.
Yeah, Farside was big.
Was it like
Passing me by?
Yes,
Around that time?
but it was pre, a little bit pre. Mary J. Blige.
Your mama, right?
Yeah,
Your mama.
Mary J. Blige had a little. Puffy was coming up. This is the Puffy era, and I remember before I did that, I had just gone to New York, and I talked to Bobbito and Stretch. I actually hung out with them for a while because of radio. Purely because of radio. Like Bobby was working at Def Jam, so but those guys were cool as shit. They weren't like Bobby and Stretch then. They were just two cool kids, that had a radio show, and we had a radio show. So I basically I remember talking to Stretch, and Stretch was like, "Yo, you got to play like Mary J. Blige. You got to play stuff with women." And I was like, what? He goes, yeah. I go, you guys play stuff? He goes, yeah, we don't play all hip hop. We play like stuff for the girls. He said, you don't want a bunch of dudes. And this is the Puffy era. So I was like, I didn't realize until later what he was. But so when I started doing that club, I was like, all right, let me slip in some R&B joints. Because I never did. I was pure hip hop,
Right.
college radio, like, rah, 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 rah. The more dudes, the merrier, Everyone come in with a backpack, that whole shit. So when he told me that, I was like, all right, cool. So I started playing like a little bit more Mary J. Blige. So we had a really good like club. So that lasted for maybe 6 months to a year. I can't remember how long.
What was the name of that party? You remember?
No.
Wow.
No. But that was, we had Soldier Mischief down there. They performed. He brought in Curtis Blow. He performed. He brought in a couple other dudes. I actually DJ for Curtis Blow. Like he just gave me records and play. So I started DJing for him. I think I did two. I did one here and one someplace else he wanted me to do for him. But anyway, if you really want to talk about the first, like, second level, I would say the first level is Frankie and Rob. Frankie and Rob had a club. They used to do a live remote on 88.1, and they had a club over by Circus Circus. By Circus Circus, there's this little tiny hut where they used to have the bungee cord shit.
Yeah.
Right over there was a little tiny like house, and that was like quote unquote the black club. And Frankie and Rob, Frankie was there, and I think even before that he was playing old disco because Frankie was from New York, so he's playing old disco, and he has a lot of pictures like celebrities in there, and then slowly it just went more hip hop like everything else is. So that was like a quote unquote hip hop club.
So when did like Utopia, right? Because a lot of most.
So Utopia. The thing about people don't realize Utopia is, and actually it's like the biggest difference between what happened in my era and what happened in Franzen's era. But the biggest difference in Utopia was that was only during fight parties.
It was a very house oriented club.
Yeah, it was a house club. But when a fight came in town, because all the promoters, Vegas was slow on this. All the promoters from out of town. I remember this guy from New York and New Jersey. He'd hit me up, say, hey, we're coming in town, we're bringing Kid Capri or Flex.
Right.
It was Kid Capri or Flex.
So it was always outside promoters coming in,
always
renting the spot.
Always. Every now and then they'd hit me up and go, is there a new spot? And then they'd okay, Alexis Park. But these guys would fly in. They fly in months before, scout it out, maybe hit me up, maybe ask them for my input.
Right.
But they knew what the hell was going on. It was really cool to see them work because they would just walk in and they knew exactly what the hell to do. They knew exactly what going on, and they would say, "Yeah, we want you to open. You know, we'll pay you this much. Blah 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 blah. Like this is gonna be big."
And they knew to like kind of talk to you. You were kind of like
they kind of knew I was the point person, like to kind of tell them what was going on, simply because of radio, because there was nothing out here. Like hip hop was a bad word. Like there was nothing.
It's been a bad word for a long time.
It was a bad word moving forward. Even when I'll jump forward a little bit. Even when Dre's open, it was a bad word. And I remember. Well, I'll talk about that later. So Utopia, that was. You guys remember the All Star Cafe?
No.
When Holyfield bit off, when Tyson bit Holyfield's ear, one of the best after fight parties ever was at the All Star Cafe on the Strip.
Wow.
And that was with me and Kid Capri.
Really?
That was the best part about that was Kid Capri was late. So they're like, Warren, you got to go. So I got to play like shit. You know, usually if you say, oh, I'm opening for Kid Capri, like you're playing wedding music.
Was this the vinyl era still?
Yes.
Because Kid Capri is known for carrying about 15 plus crates of vinyl.
Well, here's the thing.
Like an insane amount of vinyl.
So I would copy everything those motherfuckers did. Everything Flex did, everything Kid Capri. Kid Capri brought like 15 some odd crates, so I started bringing like 5 or 6. Then, you know, Flex would come in and start doing Flex things. I'm like, okay, I need to do that. You know, Clue would come in and I'd be like, okay, there's nothing I need to take from you. Clue came in. So it was, I bet you Franzen was there. I don't want to take up too much time, but Franzen was, I bet you there was, How Can I Be Down in Miami? And they were giving out All About the Benjamins promos. Were you around for that? They were giving out, so you'd be on the corner in Miami and all of a sudden you hear in the background, ding, 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 and it get closer and closer. What the hell is that sound? And you'd hear it the whole fucking conference. And they just passed that record. So I had like 4 copies of this.
Wow.
It was the week after Clue was DJing. And I had the crowd going. Clue didn't have that whole thing. It was Clue, you could still play joints. Kid Capri and Flex, you couldn't.
Right.
Clue, you could play joints. So I played Benjamins. And Clue grabbed the mic and was like, yo, this is DJ Clue, blah, blah, blah. Stopping the record, like he claimed it was him. Yeah, and I was like, oh, I know what you're doing. You know, I know what you're doing. And the fucked up thing is I had brought all 4 records and I was going to give him one. Because I knew not that many people had this fucking record.
But no Benjamins for Clue.
No. After you pulled that shit, I was like, no. After you pulled that, I was like, nah, I'm good. But yeah, so anyway,
So wait, what year was this? The Utopia era, right? This the All-Star Cafe, Utopia, and it was all outside promoters. Because I remember we had Bill Spector on, and he was telling me that he would go. He was from a big promoter in New York, and he was like, "Yeah, we would go to Vegas, Miami during the holiday weekends, and we would set up, and we would have all these clubs, and we would come through."
There were only like 2. Like black promoters, like hip hop promoters. Like I know there are other parties going on, but I never really got roped into those.
Was Larry Lair one of them?
Larry did other things, or Larry would. So when I was coming up, it was like me and Larry Lair were at the radio station at the same time, actually around KUMV. And I got in KUMV, Larry didn't. But I think Larry was playing basketball. I can't remember Larry's full story. But me and Larry, like it's back in those days, we were like neck and neck. Like he had the Bad Boy account, I had the Death Row account. Like I had the Interscope account, he had the Arista account. Like we were all, but we were still cool. I mean, I had a couple beef with some of his people and his crew, but me and Larry were always cool because I was like, you know, he was doing his thing, I was doing mine. But DJ wise, I was always a little bit more up here than Larry, because Larry was more of the promoter business type. But yeah, props to Larry. But me and Larry, like And that's probably something you guys should. I just bumped into the other day too. That's probably something somebody you should bring on because he can tell the other story that he knows the other half really good. Oh, shit. But yeah. So when fight parties were here, that's what everyone was talking about. Even the Suge Knight stuff, that was a fight party. All that stuff was fight parties.
The Suge Knight Club. The
there was no real hip hop clubs like. You just when there was a fight weekend, you knew there was going to be a party.
Right.
And if you got lucky, like the one at All Star Caf, dude, everybody, every NBA player, every fitness model, remember the Black Twins are on ESPN? They did fitness back in the day. They were there. And I was like, oh shit, dude, every video girl was there. Like that was the party.
So this is during like the mid 90s, like early to mid 90s.
Hypnotize, I think it just came out. Maybe
97.
Maybe a year around that, 6 months.
Maybe
before.
95, 96, right?
Yeah, just look when Holyfield got his ear bit off.
That was 97.
97?
When Holyfield's ear
Hypnotize definitely came
That was
out.
97.
Okay, yeah.
So it was just think Holyfield's ear. Whenever that was bit off, that was
There was 3 Holyfield Tysons. The one was in 96.
the one he bit his ear. Because I remember everyone was talking about that.
Which was in 97 when he bit his ear off.
And then when did you start like headlining at R.O.A.D?
Okay, so the R.O.A.D story is, so I was doing all the fight parties and I knew this guy named Dwayne King. And he was around when I was doing Utopia. And he was like the music director, the house guy at Utopia. And he called me on I'll never forget, he called me on a Tuesday and Wednesday. I can still see the big ass cordless phone I picked up. And he called me and he's like, hey, Warren, what's up? This is Dwayne King. Hey, what's up, Dwayne? I haven't talked to you, man. Blah, 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 blah. He said, yeah, we want to do hip hop every Thursday at the Strip. Get the fuck out of here. Hung up.
Yeah.
Dude, I hung up on it. I mean, dude, it was that. When someone said they wanted to do hip hop on the Strip,
Right.
that was such a bad word that I was like, yeah, you're crazy.
What year was that?
What song was hot?
Was it before? I'm thinking that right now. I think it was just before the Dre era. This was next episode.
Chronic 2000.
I was like,
That's
Chronic.
like 99.
It's Chronic. No, it's before the Chronic album.
So that's 90.
98.
It was
98,
before.
99.
It was before the.
Oh,
Chronic.
before the Chronic.
It was before like 97, 98, I would say.
Oh, wow.
So he called me, and I hung up on it because I'd been known as the hip hop guy. I'd been doing this forever, and I knew never touch the Strip. Just unless it's a fight weekend, don't touch the Strip.
And just as clarity for our listeners, like All Star Cafe that you're speaking of,
Yeah, what was that at?
Utopia, this was kind of off the Strip.
No,
right?
All Star Cafe was where.
They're standalone places on the Strip, but they're not in a casino.
Yeah.
That's the
Got it.
difference.
This was
They're
where
standalone places.
Franzen, what's there now?
Empire Ballroom was Utopia, right?
No, you know the Eminem world is Eminem.
Yeah, right. Kind of like between MGM and where the movie theaters
Where that
are.
Hawaiian thing was. Yeah.
So right there, that's where All Star Cafe was. But there was another one called The Dive. That's where I met. That's why I DJ with Kid Capri again, and Jay-Z and a whole bunch of people showed up. That was another fight party. That was at it was a Dive.
The Beach?
No, it was at a fashion show. Fashion Show Mall had this place called The Dive, which I think was Steven Spielberg's.
Really?
Because remember when everyone had their own like cafe? Shaq was All Star Cafe.
Right.
Yeah,
After Hard Rock, everyone tried to copy it.
Everyone tried to copy the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think Spielberg had The Dive, Spielberg and some of the and so so again, the same fucking promoters would come in town and they'd scope out the place. And we found this place.
Where was Utopia at?
Utopia it's still
Next
there.
to MGM.
Fat Burger.
Yeah, we're Fat Burger. It's a Walgreens now.
Yeah, right
Up near
behind.
Walgreens. It's near where that Walgreens is.
Oh.
Yeah.
We had before then we had a really good run at I think right after downtown we had a really good run at Utopia on a Friday. We would do Utopia on a Friday and we would be in a small room and they'd have house in the big room. And I remember getting a bunch of East Coast people coming because they knew what the hell was going on. And it was like the only club in Vegas.
Right.
And then when did you do 662 for Suge Knight and all that?
Fight parties. I only did it twice, dude. The club was only open 3 times. People like to think this club was open.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
It
the
has
club,
such a legacy for only being open. Like
the club, dude. The club was only open like 3 times.
Yeah.
And I spun all 3
In its
times.
existence?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was like a weekly
people
shit.
make it-
No,
people
dude.
make
He
it
didn't.
sound like it was like every week.
Wow.
No, dude. He didn't have the. He flew in one time and he met with me, Rory, and 2 other dudes. I don't know who they were. And I remember he was like, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. Suge was like, I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. And I said, yeah, you shouldn't do that. I said, it should be blues. It should be jazz. You need to mix it up. And I remember everyone looked at me like, what the fuck?
It's Suge Knight.
Yeah, you did. And I'm like, he asked me a question. I remember saying, he asked me a question. I told him the answer.
Right.
And I left it that because I honestly didn't learn about like pecking order and like corporate etiquette until I met Shek. I've never told Shek that, but I remember talking to Shek's office and he was telling me how he was doing something. I was like, fuck, I should do that more. Anyway, yeah. So back in those days, if someone asked me a question, I even have I don't know if you were there, but Steve Wynn brought everyone into his office one time and talked about how loud the music was. And everyone was sitting there and Steve Wynn's asking questions and I'm answering the questions because everyone else is too chicken shit to say.
You're the only one that was able to speak.
Yes, everyone else is silent.
I remember that. I wasn't there, but I heard about that. I heard it actually.
Yeah, so you heard it. Yeah,
I heard the tape. Yes.
Yeah, so
I've heard a lot about.
There was a secret tape.
I've heard a lot.
I actually like every major conversation I ever have, I always record. So I have that one recorded.
Really?
Yeah, I have that recorded. But so it was basically, honestly, 80% of it was me and Steve Wynn talking.
Wow. I remember you called me up one time because I think when the Win was opening XS, they were discussing what DJs they should get. And he called me up and he was like, yo, I'm just letting you know there's a couple of your boys that are in these meetings. And they're talking shit about you, Crook. Like,
not to
hire you.
Yeah.
So I've heard about these meetings here too.
So I don't know where I was in this, but I don't want
talking to Suge Knight.
Okay, I don't want to monopolize the whole conversation.
No.
But yeah, so talking to Suge Knight, they didn't want to do whatever. And then like the third time I met there, I didn't meet with Suge. I met with his lawyers, and his lawyers like, you can't say this, you can't do this, you can't say this, you can't like. They were like, you can't do this. You can't say this. This is a charity event. This is this. This is this.
Oh, like on the microphone, you can't.
No, yeah, I couldn't say things. It was a charity event. You're getting paid by blah 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 blah. I don't know if I got paid, but they were like, this is a charity event. Blah blah blah. Like they were just going, and that point, I was like, oh, he must be in some kind of, anytime 3 or 4 lawyers come to you and start talking to you, like what you can and can't say, and after that, I was like, okay, he must be in some type of trouble or something with the city. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the club never opened. It was only open 3 times. Wow. Yeah.
So which one of those 3 times did you have your beef with Tupac?
So okay, listen. Honestly, it
Because there was only 2 big beefs Tupac had. It was Biggie and War and Peace.
It honestly wasn't a beef. I played all the shit. The party was about to crack. I played Total Can't You See. That was the fucking song. I don't give a fuck what everyone. That's why you should get Larry in, because Larry has a different. I heard Larry's version of this. I said, dude, I didn't know any of that. I played Total Can't You See. I was rocking the fucking intro.
Give me all the chicken.
Yes. You know it. You can feel it right now. The dance floor was getting packed. All the girls were like wearing underwear and sheer and like. Gives you great visual, right? You see it, right? Underwear and sheer. So there, dude, Deion Sanders was there with all his posse women. This was with Neon Deion.
Yeah,
prime time.
Dude, prime time. So, dude, the place was packed. It was beautiful. It was gorgeous women, and place was going crazy. Dance floor went crazy. All of a sudden, here comes Tupac. I didn't even know who the fuck, I just know some guy came in and moved Bob out of the way, and then he came to me and was like, just,
Shout out Mr. Bob.
Yes, it just slightly kind of moved me out of the way, and I was like, "Yeah, you seem important, okay." I didn't recognize who it was at that point. I was like, "Oh, I guess you seem important." So, and then he took it off.
He scratched it.
Oh, he took off the wrong record, because I had 2 records. So he took off the wrong record, and he was like, "What the fuck?"
Going?
Yeah, it's still playing. Yeah, so then
Joke's on you, Pac.
Yeah. So he takes off the other record, and by then I'm like, "Oh, this is Tupac." He's like, and then everyone's like, boo, fuck you, nigga, you're whack, blah, 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 blah. Like, everyone started yelling shit at me. And then he grabbed the mic, fuck this is West Coast, motherfucker, this West Coast shit, blah, 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 blah. And everyone, like, it was like a 3-second pause. They're like, oh, that's Tupac. Yeah, nigga, you're right. Yeah, fuck this is West Coast. I was so mad. I was steaming because at that point, I went through my crates and was like, okay, no Nas, no Jay-Z, no Lauryn Hill. And I was like, Lauryn Hill? No Lauryn Hill. Like, so I started going through. Like, I had to take a big out. Like, I take like 80% of my crate and just move it to the back. I was like, I guess I'm not playing.
All right. So what record did you play?
When he threw it off, the first record. So everything's in BPMs, right?
Yeah.
So it was E40. I wanna be safe because it's 84 BPMs. Right?
You have to save a hoe.
Because it was right there. I'm like, yeah, okay, this is West Coast. Boom, right
Did the crowd go crazy? They was like, yeah.
You'll never hear that. Larry will tell you a different story, but the crowd did not go crazy because the hits were West Coast. This was Puffy's era. I don't give a fuck what you say. This was Puffy's era.
Wow.
The hits were East Coast.
The hits were everything was East Coast. East Coast had the whole. You know, when you move to Raw, you got to realize that my old imaging of Club Raw was a puffy video. When I see a party, I think puffy video. I don't think West Coast lowrider. I think puffy video.
Now let's talk about R.O.A.D, because R.O.A.D is a big it's one of the big room clubs in Vegas that was in Luxor, right?
Yeah.
And it was like, I don't know how many people could fit in there. It was huge.
Thousands.
Right?
There are maybe a couple thousand.
It was every Thursday night.
It was every Thursday night.
I'll
So
never forget it.
Dwayne King called me up and said, we want to do a hip hop.
You hung up on him, right?
I hung up on him, and he called me back and said, why you hung up on me? I said, dude, I don't have time for this bullshit. Like, and he's like, no, dude, I'm serious. I said, get the fuck out of here. I go, who is this? Like, how are you going to do this? He said, well, Billy. I was like, who's Billy? Billy's dad is the VP of Mandalay Bay. And I was like, oh, okay. You might have some leverage here. All right, let's see all right. So when do you want me to come down? He said, on Thursday. I said, well, let me come on Saturday and see what's going on. So I brought my 5-6 crates and I pull up because I don't know what the fuck I'm playing. So I said, just grab them all, pull up. And I did good. They liked me on a Saturday. So yeah, we want you to come on next.
And at the time, what were they playing on the strip in a club like R.O.A.D?
So the blackest you got, quote unquote, was whatever was in them. You were just coming out of like the Strike It Up.
And the Rio was the only other club, really, right?
Yeah.
The Rio had, what was that terrible club, Studio 54 or something?
No.
54? No,
That's MGM.
right?
I'm sorry.
No, what was the Rio club that was a really
Club Rio.
shitty club? Club Rio.
It was Club Rio and Luxor.
Yeah.
That was it. And
was the only two clubs.
the order was Club Rio, Luxor, and then it was Studio 54.
Studio
That's right.
54.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, yes.
So I can't. You could dip your toe in. You could get away with. I think Return of the Mac was big. Like that. That was it. Like you had to be like pop black. Like it couldn't
Pump up
be.
the jam.
Yes. Yeah. You could lean
How
into
about-
like Strike It Up, Black Box, and
about
finally, and yeah.
Get jiggy with it.
Yes.
So
yes.
this is
Get jig-
96.
You could get away with that, but that wasn't. I knew. By that time I kind of knew how to read the audience. I could play a little of that, but I dipped the other way because that's just kind of where I was, and that's what they wanted anyway. So I said, "Fuck it, I'm going to play this and see what they, do they really want this?" Because at this point I was so like, this ain't happening. So then we want you to come back Thursday. So I brought in my man, Mr. Bob, and me and I will say this on your podcast in front of everybody. No one's beating me and Bob. Around 99, 2000. No one is beating me.
Oh no, you got to go 01, 02.
Yeah, 01, 02. Yeah. No one is beating me and Bob. No one. You guys got to realize that club was set up perfect. They had a stage. It was me and Bob. It was pre-Serato. Like I was the first one on Serato out here.
I got a story about that too.
So not only was I on Serato, I had Serato going. I had Bob. I plugged in the monitor, so Bob has his own monitor, and I brought in another mixer. So Bob could have his own mixer because Bob's a big dude. So Bob could be over there and I'd be over here.
And what was Bob playing?
Bob was just hype.
He was
He was pulling it down.
He was Mike.
He was pulling it down. So he was
Frank Jugger.
yes,
He
but
was
he
your
had his
Frank
own
Jugger.
mixer and he knew when to follow and he knew when to lead.
Okay.
That was he knew like just early. I'm not getting on, so he go around, talk to girls, get drinks ready, and then he'd show up. And then when it was prime time, I'm like, Bob, go. And he would just take over, and I'd follow him. Wow. But he knew he could look at my monitor and see what I was going. He could see what song was coming up. He could see everything. So that was important. A lot of people don't realize he had his own mixer and monitor, and I did that because it was me, and then goes to him, and then he could cut me out.
Interesting. Wow.
And he could, and he was on the radio. I got him on the radio at KLUC, so he knew every word.
Where
of the
was
song.
he from? Where was Mr.
Bob was from here. I met Bob. So I met Bob at a Costco. When I flunked out of college, I started working at Costco, and I could. And the reason I like Costco, I worked the hot dog cart, and I could make all my calls from the hot dog cart because no one monitored the hot dog cart. So I could be on conference calls. I could pass out flyers. I could have my guys come pick up posters. I could run my whole business from the hot dog cart because no one ever checked on me.
Wow.
Yeah, so I loved it. I was like, this is fucking awesome. So I met him. Bob was outside basically entertaining little kids. Like people would come and take pictures of Mr. Bob. Like I'll never forget this.
What do you
What he
mean?
was doing?
He was just the entertaining big guy.
He was like a host?
No, he you go to Costco with a clicker?
Yeah.
Never put him on.
Oh, he was like the welcome guy.
Yes,
The greeter.
he would. They move him around, so he would have jokes. He'd be like, hey little kid, whatever, and turn around and go, I hate white people, like just loud.
Jesus, Bob.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing?
What Costco was this?
It was a
Jesus
Costco
Christ.
in Henderson. So I know. I said, this guy's entertaining. I said, so at downtown, I said, dude, come get on the mic with me. So he came, and then a magic show. That's another one we had events here.
true.
When a magic show came out, we had Wu-Tang
Oh
perform
my
in
God,
Foxy.
magic. The magic show was the
Clothing.
wholesale.
Oh, dude, it's Holy Grail. Like
The fashion
The
industry.
wholesale retail fashion industry coming into town, and it was huge.
and they always threw parties.
And now it's the most dead
Yeah, that shit was so
convention
sad
ever. It was
now.
one of the biggest conventions ever. It was like up there with the what's the tech?
CES.
Yeah, it was up there with CES, and then all of a sudden it's just the worst.
Dude, twice a year we'd look forward to that because I was doing street promotion, I was DJing, so we were playing at the Drink. Remember the Drink? Yeah, Ice. We were playing at the Drink.
Ice.
And me and Bob, I said, Bob, you're going to be on the mic. He's like, what do I say? I said, just hype up the crowd. Do what you do at Costco. Just don't cuss out any white people. He goes, okay.
Do what you did at Costco.
Do what you
Really
do at Costco.
With the clicker.
Do what you do at Costco. Just don't cuss out any. He said, okay. I said, so he started. I said, and I remember I said, dude, ask if the East Coast is here. Is the East Coast in the house? And he looked. I remember he looked at me. He was like, I was like, yes, keep that going.
Wow.
So that was like his first initiation. I remember Wu-Tang performed. I met Pizzo. Wu-Tang didn't have a record, so Pizzo went to
Yeah,
his
shout
house.
to Pizzo. Yeah.
Pizzo went to his house and grabbed
No
like
doubt.
all his Wu-Tang records and was like, it was a great story. He went to Riz and go, what do you want? And Riz was like, wow, you have all these records? Like, because Pizzo was a major Wu-Tang fan.
Yeah.
Big shout to Pizzo.
So, yeah, so.
Hip hop encyclopedia.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Incredible, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a shocking how much he knows
Yeah.
about hip hop.
And he had a great podcast too. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Even to this day, I love it. It was it on the record or off?
Yeah,
the
me and him did that.
Warren
yeah,
did
you and
yeah,
him.
yeah,
Yeah, it was so good.
Luxor starts, Club Raw starts.
What year was that?
Let's say 97.
Wow.
Okay, so 97, 98, we get going, and I meet Billy. And Billy just graduated he played football, just graduated from college, and the club was his graduation present.
Wow.
So I was
Nice.
like,
Must be nice.
I was like, yo, I think this might actually work because I met Billy, I met Billy's dad, Billy was cool, Billy understood black culture, he was younger than me. I was like, okay, this actually might work. We might have some wheels here. So we just stayed there and kept going, and Thursdays just got bigger and bigger. And the thing that did Thursdays, and Franzen will attest to it, is all the strippers used to come in on Thursday. They used to come in on Friday, but when there was a place to go on Thursday, so they come in Thursday and blow their money. So I didn't realize this till later, but the place was littered with like chicks, hot chicks everywhere. Like
Everywhere.
that
That whole back VIP
oh my
section.
God, dude,
This is before bottle service,
Dude.
too. You got to understand. Like, there was a VIP section, but no bottle service.
People were drinking out of like red cups and stuff in the VIP section. I
Well,
kind of remember that.
Well,
Yeah.
it wasn't, bottle service wasn't heavy, but it became bigger after that. But yeah, he's right.
Okay, so really, there weren't no presentations. Like,
No
it wasn't bringing out-
no
yeah.
presentations
Yeah,
at
yeah,
all.
yeah.
None.
Right.
And I remember they had this bathroom back in the kitchen, and all these girls always come out of the bathroom. I'm like, why the fuck are these girls always in the fucking bathroom? I need to pee. And I didn't realize till years later, like, oh, I know why they're in the bathroom. But yeah, dude, on Thursday, you would see a trail. Like, it was just so. Anyway, it was the perfect element. Like, everything was perfect.
Wow.
Actually, the best compliments I've ever got DJing in my life was at R.O.A.D. I was DJing. It was a regular weekend. It was a Thursday. I might be ramping up to a 3-day weekend. I can't remember. And Little John was there, and my boss came up to me, Jerome, and was like, you got to start playing reggae. I said, I'm not playing no fucking reggae. And I was cocky back then because the place was fucking packed. He's like, you're playing fucking reggae. There's more people fucking outside than in fucking inside. He was like a military guy, so he really got in my face. He's like, you got to get these people out of here so we can get new people in. And I was like, ding. So that was the best compliment I ever got. It happened 2 or 3 times where you come in, all right, reggae, soul songs. because we had to get everyone out because there's more people outside.
Interesting.
That's more.
Ra never got in trouble inside. It was always outside.
It's a very rare thing with a club that size, and the manager comes up to you and says, "We got to flip the room."
Yeah.
right.
No, and it was like 1 o'clock. He's like, you have to slow it down. I mean, it was a testament to me and Bob. Like we had that place going like nonstop,
Crazy.
and it just wouldn't go. It was just we were just gonna take it. Like my philosophy as DJing's always been never to cool it down. Even now when I'm DJing, like okay, bring it down. I'm like, not bringing it down. I'm gonna push you off the cliff.
Right.
I want you when you leave, go, what the fuck happened? I don't want you to go like, oh, okay, where are we going now? So I always, even now when I'm DJing, like, okay, we need to bring it down. I'm not bringing it down. We're pushing everyone off the cliff. We're not gonna glide them down. They're gonna be pushed off. So there, I was like, dude, we're going balls to the wall. Let's go.
Franzen, you remember going to R.O.A.D and shit?
What? You gotta understand.
When did you get here, Franzen?
I got here in 2001, and R.O.A.D was like the Mecca. When I say the Mecca, every Thursday night, that was like, 01. I'm in my younger 20s. I'm like, man, we're going to R.O.A.D every Thursday. And Warren said him and Bob had it on lock. There's nothing like it. Like you really had to be there. You really had to be there. Like it was an experience back then. Like I got to see this man play records out of his crates, going crazy, making people dance. This is pre-social media era. People had to dance or go to the bar, grab a drink. Yeah. There was no distraction on your phone, trying to act cool, take pictures, take selfies. Like people were really partying. And when I tell you, you would get outside this club and the line would be nuts back to the parking lot. And thank God that we knew all the Simone security guards because we never had to wait in line. And all these Simone security guards are all from the Bay, so I knew a lot of them. Yeah. So it was always an event on Thursday. Like me, KT, and the people that have been around since I moved to Vegas. Like we're going to R.O.A.D on Thursday.
Is that one of the things that planted the seed for you to come out here to Vegas? Like seeing that hip hop actually had a home here?
Well, actually, what brought me to Vegas is the radio station.
The radio station.
Yeah, Hot 97, because they were the very first hip hop R&B commercial radio station. Granted, KLUC was playing their share of hip hop. 88.1 was definitely playing hip hop, but we were the first, commercial radio station. Like he mentioned those names, the Rory Max. I also got to give a shout out to DJ Benzo too. I know Benzo used to do work. Shout out to the Twins. All the guys that he named that came before him. Like I know of those guys. You know what I mean? And when it came to Warren and Mr. Bob on Thursday, that was it. There was no competition. Like as far as hip hop parties in Vegas, it was all Warren and Mr. Bob.
And I would put, first of all, I remember, I knew Franzen from the Bay. I remember listening to Franzen in the Bay. And I remember he came, I was like, oh, yo, what the fuck Franzen's doing here? And I remember hearing all the bullshit he was going through at the radio station. I'm like, this is fucking Franzen. Like, what are you doing? Anyway, so props to you on that. Because I remember how big he was in the fucking Bay. And I was like, this guy. But he talks about me and Bob. I will put me and Bob at that prime against anybody. Flex, Kid Capri, anybody, because you couldn't. I was copying Kid Capri to the letter, but I was putting it like my own spin on it. And I had Bob, and I mean, we had skits. We had like there was not. Like I said, I'll say it now. Like no one was beating Kid Capri, Flex, you name whoever you want to put up. They weren't coming close.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then I remember people were telling me Opium, right, in Caesar's Palace and in the Forum shops, right?
Yep.
When did they open? And Light opened in 2002. Light was the first bottle service nightclub, the official one, right?
Yes.
And it was like emulating kind of like a New York, Miami style.
Correct, yes.
And they were bringing New York DJs out there and some LA DJs. And but basically all the best, I don't know, hip hop DJs. I mean, Shecky, you would know more about this.
So my introduction, taking a quick little step back, my introduction to Vegas very quickly was that I was putting out records with Game Records in New York City, and I put out an Eminem and Royce da 5'9" Bad Meets Evil record. And through that, I met Warren and Pizzo because they had Hip Hop Site.
One of my favorite records of all time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. And through that, around 99, I came to Vegas for a few reasons. I love poker. I love pretty ladies. I love, good weather, all those good reasons. But I came out, initially to talk to them about, helping us distribute these records. And that's when I started realizing what was going on here. And interestingly enough, very quick story, around that same time, Eminem, I remember very clearly when he was on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine, he had My Name Is. It was like the biggest hit. He came to play at, I believe, House of Blues or...
Rio.
Where was it?
I think it was Club Rio.
No, it wasn't Club Rio.
Okay.
Well, because what happened was, wherever it was, I think it was House of Blues or one of those. But anyway, there was a huge show. Eminem came in. It was My Name Is was like the biggest record. He tore it down. Afterwards, we all get into the limo. Several people ingest some substances to try to feel good. I remember, whatever it may be. And
Coffee.
Anyway, and so we go to R.O.A.D because everyone's like, that's the only club. You got to go to R.O.A.D. So we roll up. I
remember that night.
And I remember, yes. And I was like, and I think Warren's probably inside, I believe. It was a Friday or Saturday, though. It wasn't.
It was Saturday. I remember.
It was
that.
a Saturday, yes. And so we roll up and we're at the front of R.O.A.D. And just as Franzen said, it was like ridiculously packed. It was like insane. But we got this guy, Eminem, he's got the #1 song in the country. So we walk right up to the front. And I'm kind of leading the way because I'm the only one that kind of knows where we're going. And so I walk to the front and I'm like, hey, man, there's a guy with like, the clipboard, whatnot. And I'm like, hey, listen, man, look, we got Eminem and he just got off stage. Got a few people here. If you could get us in, it would be great. And he's like, okay, cool, no problem. Let me see what I can do. And then another guy steps in and says, I'm going to need to see ID from everybody. And Eminem is like literally wearing the clothes that he had just got off a stage, which, by the way, was like a shitty pair of sweatpants and like a wife beater or something, right? But whatever it was, he was like, he was like, oh, man, I don't have nothing on me. He's like, sorry, can't do it, guys. That's it. You can't come in. And we're like, what? Wait, this is Eminem. He's got like, he's literally on the cover of all these magazines. He's #1. He's like, I don't care. You can't come in. And Vegas used to be, and still
Vegas.
is.
That's Vegas.
Vegas still is very serious about it. I get it. And now I've been here 20 plus years. I understand. But at that point we were shocked. So Eminem turns around and says, you know what? Well, fuck you. And then it was like a fracas, a little fight. No punches were thrown, but like a scuffle. And then we all got marched straight out of the club.
Oh shit!
That was like the introduction to not out of the casino. I mean, we didn't go into the club.
Yeah, you're responsible for bringing all these like DJs here from AM, Mark Ronson, right? You guys, and you're also responsible for starting, I guess like one of the hip hop parties on Thursdays at Light, which was Bounce Thursdays, right?
Yeah.
Never. You were one of the residents there.
I was the resident there.
Yeah, you were the resident there.
Yeah.
And
so the most important moment in that sort of next step, because everything that these guys are talking about is all very organic, locally grown hip hop, basically, here in Las Vegas. And then the next step of it was the emergence of these bottle service clubs, particularly with Light. And Light was emulating New York, and the pivotal moment was in 2002. I have a few notes here because I looked it up. 2002 was when we did something called the Big City DJ Series, and it was basically, I was working with Sean Christie, who was basically the marketing director for Light at that time, and that was DJ AM, Mark Ronson, Stretch Armstrong, and Eddie McDonald.
And that party was on
Shout out to Eddie.
It was on a Sunday night.
yeah.
Yes,
Sunday
it was
Industry Night.
correct. It was like a Sunday Industry Night was their big night. So they had already had some momentum. It had been going for a few months. But now I came to town. I met Sean. I met Eddie. I met Justin Hoffman. I met Sean Christie. I met a lot of the locals here who were doing things. And then I was like, hey, look, I already knew AM. Actually, to be very clear, I had actually brought AM a few months earlier to play a party at the V Bar at the Venetian, if anyone remembers that.
I used to DJ there.
Yes, I think I remember you DJing there.
I was trying to think the name of that spot.
Franz, I didn't know you DJ'd at V Bar.
Oh, yeah.
early
I didn't know
on,
that
huh?
either.
I remember the very first time that Tao like had a soft opening. I was DJing.
Oh,
And Tao is still going till this day.
yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That was 2004. Wow.
I was doing a Hip Hop Honeys party in
Hip Hop
2001, 2002 at V Bar
One
Venetian.
of the best DVDs ever.
Oh,
Oh
thank
man, I still have my poster at the house.
got it?
Signed by all the girls.
you. The DJs were AM and Lord Sear, if you can believe it.
Oh, wow.
Lord Sear, a rare appearance in Las Vegas.
Shout to Lord Sear.
I used to
man.
DJ with Sia in New York back in like 2000.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. He's a great. Shout to Lord Sear. I love Lord Sear. But
Yeah.
anyway, that was the first. I believe that's the first time AM ever played Las Vegas. Was that it was obviously V Bar was not a big place.
This is even before Babies.
Before everything, I think,
Wow.
because I had just on a personal level, just was like, yo, I want you to come DJ. He had already had that momentum in LA. He was still big AM. It was before he had the surgery and all that stuff.
Yep.
And so that was sort of the preamble, but then that led to Sean and going like, wow, this guy AM, like I heard about him, blah, blah, blah. So AM, Stretch, Mark Ronson, Eddie, 4 Sundays in a row. And I think that kind of kicked off the whole, and I hate this term, but quote unquote celebrity DJ. Remember they used to say that a lot? Yeah. Or what we sometimes now call mashup DJ, what also sometimes call open format, blah, blah, blah. But all of those DJs, obviously, especially Stretch, are very, very rooted in hip hop. And Ronson also, as we all know, had a long history of being basically a Stretch Armstrong style of a DJ who would go out and play the same parties in New York City as Stretch. So basically, all of them were kind of in this hip hop umbrella, despite the fact they're all white, but that is what it is. It was kind of like that. They represented kind of like as it said, the big city kind of sound coming to Vegas. And I think looking back, that was kind of the moment when it broke open, and then that led to quite a few other hip hop DJs. Some of them have been mentioned already, playing at Light.
You know what? Pete Rock played one
Rock?
Sunday. Yeah.
What?
I got a story about that. Pete Rock played at Light. Premier played at Light. Tony Touch. Riz played at Light.
Shout to Riz.
I think
Scribble
Scribble.
did it?
Thank you for. I was going to say it's definitely Scribble played multiple clubs all over town. Scribble also played at Body English
I
after
remember
MS.
Scribble used to come with like 20 crates of records to the fucking venue.
It's funny because like Scribble was one of the DJs in the comments of this Clinton Sparks post that was like, I was the first. It's funny because all these DJs came out and were saying, I was the first one to DJ hip hop in Vegas. And it's funny, Sean Christie actually left a comment and he said it was Grandmaster Flash.
So shout to Sean. I did speak to him briefly a few days ago. Sean did bring Grandmaster Flash to. That was definitely to Mandalay Bay, to the House of Blues. Grandmaster Flash had a residency there, I think around the year 2000-ish.
Wow.
That was a very early big DJ at that time, obviously still, but, that was an early hip hop residency for sure in one of these casino clubs.
Yeah.
But that was, House of Blues is kind of like a sort of a rough around the edges type of spot. It's not really like a nightclub. But it is. It's kind of like, you know what it is. It's more like a band place.
Yeah,
right.
Or a venue.
It's like a performance space.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But and nonetheless, that is an important like landmark. But once it broke open with the hip hop DJs, I think I mentioned Tony Touch, Green Lantern.
Shout out to Green.
He came out here. So there was, and then it sort of started the ball rolling for people. My job was often to be the guy that would help set it up, but then also I would go pick them up from the airport. I would take them around. And then that's when I would figure out how many crates they had, because that would be a factor in the night. Like you had to pick somebody up at the airport. If it was, I never picked up Kid Capri, but Riz, for example, would bring quite a few crates.
Yeah.
We'd have to lug them. It was like a huge schlep. You had to put them in the car. We'd go right to the club. Like I remember driving right to that North Valet at Bellagio and unload it right into Light. Like the first thing you do is deal with the records, because what else are we going to do with them? Like you have to get them right into the booth.
And that was a small ass DJ booth.
Oh hell yeah!
At the Light.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think it was rotary knobs. There was no fader in the first when it
2
first
years,
opened.
True.
The first 2 years.
True.
That
Shout
was
out to Eddie Mack.
That was raw the first couple years of Rotary.
It was rotary.
Really?
Yeah. I had to fight with Dwayne about that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what was what you ended up getting, the dual decker rain with the fader and the mids?
I kept saying, what the fuck is this mixer? He's like, deal with it. And I was like, all right, well, I guess you're. But then when I said I want to get Bob as mixer, and I explained to him why, they said, okay, give him the rotary. I said, perfect.
Oh wow! And then what were you spinning on then?
I think I had a 57,
Really?
a Rain 57.
At Raw? No.
Really?
I think so.
No, we're talking about pre-Serato though.
Yeah, I think I had a 57.
Rain-
No,
Oh, probably like a 54, 50,
51.
56.
50.
right?
Okay, I know I had a Rain. I think I had a little Rain.
Oh,
a
56.
Yeah, I think it was a 56.
It's a 50. Was a 57?
It
with
couldn't have
Serato?
been, because all those mixtures you're naming had Serato in them. No.
No,
56
and a half.
did.
I'm
There
pretty
was-
sure it was a small Rain.
I think it was the 54. I could be wrong.
I think it's the
that was-
50.
But Franz is right. This is pre-Serato.
Yeah.
yeah.
56 was still like kind of like mid 2000s.
Yeah.
And
So
even
it
when
had
we,
yeah.
even when we did Serato, we brought in the box. Like no mixer had Serato.
No.
back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because 57, I think, was like the late 2000s.
Yeah.
And then we started fucking, and I hated that fucking mixer. I really hated it.
Because I remember I got an SL1 box in like 07.
Yeah, I got mine in 04.
So I started late on Serato.
I was a beta tester Serato.
I remember that.
I was a day one beta tester. I remember showing everyone Serato and everyone going, "Get the fuck out of here!" I'm
Yo, I
never
remember
using
that too. I used to go to the hip hop site. He used to be like, "Yo, you got to get on this new program."
Dude,
the DJ.
everyone
and
was
be like, "Come on, man."
Everyone was, "Get the fuck
that
out of
shit-
it, dude."
get that out of my face, man.
Everyone. The only one I've given props for this day. The only person was Sizz. Sizz, Riz, Spinbat came and they all watched me and they were like, "Fucking Sizz was asking me questions as I'm DJing."
Wow.
And he's like, "What's it? What's it?" He's like, "I'm getting that." So, yeah. So
what was weird? People were confused because you were promoting something that was going to be putting your own business out.
Yeah. And Pizzo's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Dude, this is the future."
You're like, "But we got like 5,000 records in the room here.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm
we got let's get rid of these first, and then we can worry about them."
I'm like, I'll never forget. I don't want to name names, but so many people were like, "Dude, get the fuck out! I'm not computer."
I was one of those guys.
I'll never. What was the quote? The famous quote that said, "I will never trust my DJ career to a computer." I was like, "All right, dude, you keep carrying those crates."
You got to understand, I used to, like I said, I was there religiously every single Thursday. Watch this guy play records, selecting records from his crates. All of a sudden, I walk in one Thursday, because I would always greet Warren and Mr. B.O.B. at the DJ booth, like always show him love. Yep. And I'll never forget, Warren was like, "Check this out." I'm like, "Bro, what are you doing right now?" He's spinning he's playing music from a computer, using records.
Yeah.
And I was amazed, but I was like,
I'm not doing
I can't do this.
Wow.
I can't do this.
So
and
you
that was
got
what,
in 07.
04? That was 04?
Dude, that was hella early.
03?
Dude, just look when Serato came out, and maybe a year after that.
It was probably like 04.
I had a talk with A-Track. A-Track's like, "Yo, there's this new thing coming out. You want to get with it? You should." And because I was on Final Scratch.
That's right.
I was on Final Scratch, and I went to I went to the WMC in Miami, and Serato had a booth, and I remember just waiting in line.
You met Sam?
Yes. And I walked up and I just spun the record. I just put my hand, I just blah, 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 because Final Scratch, if you spun it back and went,
Yeah, all the digital shit.
yeah, all digital, but if you spun back Serato, it went, blah, 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 and I was like, sold. And then I talked to Sam, and I said, "Sam, I've been on Final Scratch. I'm a big guy. I do this in Vegas. A-Track told me to come about this. He said, "Dude, you want a beta test?" I said, "Hell yeah."
Wow.
And now I'm on Record Box.
There you go. You're
Yeah.
the future.
Now I kicked them to the curb.
When you were at R.O.A.D and you were moving towards the 2000s, were you feeling the pressure from the other clubs, like saying like, "Oh shit, like,
Dude,
they're starting to kill it right now"?
No one was touching us on Thursday. And then they gave us, we were doing so good, they gave us Thursday and then they gave us Saturday. We would do half Saturday. And another big compliment is Bob's sister, rest in peace, said, "I love when you guys are spinning on Saturday." Why? I go, "Why? Because the bathrooms are empty." She goes, "The hall's empty, the bathroom's empty. When you guys get off, it's like this. But when you guys are on, everything's empty." I was like, "Really?" She goes, "Yeah." And so that was another big compliment. But yeah, dude, it was, I wasn't worried. Dude, we were so like, dude, nothing was killed. Dude, we were on, Prince had showed up to the club 2 or 3 times. Little John was there. Sujit would bring his people in. Dude, we were so like on it. Like me and Bob were on it. And Bob was killing it on the radio. And of course I got all the free records from radio and I knew all the right people. And, I owned a fucking record store so I could order party breaks. So I was like, dude, I was top shelf game. The only thing that stopped it was when 54 took over. Billy's dad sold his interest. So Billy no longer had leverage. And 54 came over and took over the club. And I remember they said, "If you play any hip hop night this night," I have it recorded. "If you have any hip hop this night,
Wow,
you're fired. You're gone." I played 50 Cent in the club, and I got a text from my boy Dave. Dave said, "What are you playing?" I said, "I'm playing 50 Cent," and he was just like, "Yeah, we need to talk out."
That's such a Vegas thing,
Dude, you don't
Christ.
understand. It was bad. And I went back about a month later, and he told me they were losing between 100 and 200,000 a week.
Oh my God.
And the guys that went to 54, they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna turn this club, and we're gonna do this, we're gonna do blah, blah, blah." Well, after the budget left, they slowly shifted the club under food and beverage, and disappeared.
Damn.
And I remember talking to Jerome. He's like, "Yeah, we're trying this, we're trying that." And I go, "Dude, what?" He goes, "Dude, nothing." He goes, "We're losing so much money."
Wow.
He goes, "It's just you guys. We're losing so much money."
So then they just basically opened the market back up, pretty much to like anybody could take over with a hip hop party.
Well, yeah. So and it that's why I kind of learned how bad this town was and how bad hip hop was. So you got to realize, dude, I had numbers now. I said, yo, I knew what the bar numbers were. I knew, what was going on. I knew what the crowd looked like. Everything.
I mean, Shecky, do you remember this era, like this time, like kind of when when he's talking about this shift, when like the management changed and the ownership changed
in R.O.A.D? You specifically
in R.O.A.D, yeah, and then I think Light was probably opening at that time.
I think these things coexisted because I think the R.O.A.D was more of like a real locals like hip hop crowd, and Light was more just that bottle service type crowd, and so they kind of coexisted. There was like, it's always been like that. Look, even in New York City, there was uptown hip hop parties, downtown hip hop parties, all that different kind of vibe. So the Light stuff was more like the downtown hip hop parties, right? I mean, where it was more, it was just like you play everything, but it was hip hop based, and now, but you agree with that?
I would say when I DJ'd at Light, when I first came out here.
What year was that?
Before I officially moved out here, I used to come out in 2002.
Yeah, 2 and 3. 2002. Yeah.
And I would say I would play like maybe 70% hip hop.
Right.
And the rest was like maybe rock, house, and 80s.
Exactly.
But it was the majority of the music I was playing was hip hop.
So here's the thing. It was all about marketing then, because you couldn't have the wrong crowd. That's when I learned when I left. I was like, okay, I see what's going on. You couldn't attract the wrong crowd. So everything was mashup. The word hip hop was now mashup. Yes. If you wanted to say you play hip hop, you say you played mashup.
Let's talk about this a little bit, because we just released a clip recently, and we were talking about the term open format. And how hip hop is basically called open format.
Yeah.
But before it was called mashup, and I think before that, someone was saying that they called it non-compatible. For something, I don't know. I heard that it was called like non-compatible music.
I remember we used to sometimes have to say upscale hip hop.
Yeah, upscale. I remember that one. I remember that.
It's just weird, but yeah, I mean, everyone. There is an underlying. There was an underlying thing where hip hop was a bad word.
Yeah,
and basically, if you said hip hop, everyone in the whole building, meaning now a casino property, a big resort, where there's obviously many different levels of things going on, many different crowds and all that. And so basically, a lot of people in the casinos would not want to see that word on a flyer, because that meant the crowd would be like this, and maybe it would bring problems into the building. Mm-hmm. And so that became, they always wanted to mash up and that's why kind of when AM emerged as the leader of this kind of movement, it became, they called it, mashups, because AM would literally, we all know AM was like a machine playing everything. So, that kind of became the rap, sort of the wrapper for it, the packaging of the whole thing.
And that became how you could play it.
That's right.
That's how you could play it.
See, the funny thing is that,
and that was different from R.O.A.D. R.O.A.D. was a real hip hop party.
R.O.A.D. was a straight hip hop.
We played straight, and usually around 3 o'clock we start playing like oldies, like Al Green and stuff like that. But no, it was straight hip hop.
So like the misconception is that AM brought this style of mashup hip hop to Vegas, but it actually existed in New York, like throughout the 90s, right? When you were going out, they were playing Joan Jett. They were mixing rock, AC/DC.
Which
in the 90s, right?
In New York,
like which DJs?
Mark Ronson, Stretch Armstrong, Riz.
Sure.
They was doing that.
Yeah.
So like every downtown DJ was playing like that.
But the thing, okay, from a technical point of view, so I remember being at R.O.A.D, and I think I just got let go, and Dave was like, you gotta come see this guy named AM. And anytime Dave was like, you gotta see somebody, drop everything, go see him. So we stood in the corner and watched him playing. The thing about AM, people don't realize technically why he was so good is because he was sharp, his cuts were quick, and he's one of the few people, Vice is another one, that when they play records and they scratch, they actually add momentum to the track. They add a feel. They add a so I'm sure other people were doing it, like New York, like you're saying, but the momentum that he was picking up as he was doing it was insane.
I would say what AM brought two things. He brought turntablism to like basically hip hop. and he was mixing and mashing rock and everything together, but he was doing it in a turntablist way.
Yes.
Which was unique. And it was
Yeah.
it was actually probably something that Z-Trip kind of initiated maybe earlier on.
Okay,
Right?
so to your point, yes,
Yeah.
there was a few mixtapes that came beforehand. Spin Bad, shout to the incredible Spin Bad.
Shout to Spin
his
Bad.
80s, his first
That's
80s
a
mixtape.
classic.
Right.
Yeah.
It's probably my favorite all-time mixtape. It was the first time I personally ever heard an 80s record, like whether it's the Go-Go's or whatever, being treated like a hip-hop record.
Yes.
It's the first time I ever heard somebody, and then the second time was Z-Trip and DJ P.
Right, DJ P, right?
With the uneasy listen. Oh, it's called uneasy listening, or
No, it
it
was,
might, they had also a mixtape around the same time.
Yeah.
It was and it had like. It had like Blowing in the Wind and stuff like that. It was like
Yeah.
Kansas with like the LL beat behind it and all these kind of cool mashups. So basically that was the recorded beginning, in my opinion, in America of DJs kind of doing this sound. And then when it came to live, AM, Stretch, Mark Ronson, they were
Right.
all kind of in the same universe, dabbling and starting to do it in live places. And Stretch obviously is a guy who has a huge diverse taste in music. He was one of the guys that was bringing rock, especially with those downtown parties like at Tribeca Grand and stuff like that.
Yeah. Mhm.
But more so here in Vegas, AM was the guy that, I mean, again, they all kind of happened at the same time because
Right.
they came here to Vegas, but AM was the one that rose to the top because he was also just getting famous at that point. So.
And he also, I mean, the thing, again, technically, he had that Vegas feel. His momentum was impeccable. Like, his momentum was so on point.
Right.
And that's what a lot of, like, DJs know, like a momentum and a feel. And Stretch had it, but
Well,
not
he
like.
did it musically.
Not like.
he was like a turntablist, but he
Yeah.
did it musically. Like he the way he scratched and he did things was almost like an additional percussion.
Yes. Yes.
He really did it in a percussion way, and that's what most great scratchers do. They scratch like it's a secondary percussion
Yeah.
layered over the songs.
And real quick, Stretch was on the first one to put a mashup on a record. He
Right.
did "Hi, My Name Is" over AC/DC.
Then Humans.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
no, we
No,
were
no.
so we
Oh,
were
wait,
the
wait,
humans.
I was gonna bring
up
yeah, we were the humans.
Okay.
So we heard. So it's funny because we heard Stretch do that. We're like, that's good. Again, talking to me, Dave, and Pizzo, and we're like, yo, we could do this with blah blah blah.
Right.
And we're like, yeah, but I remember saying, yeah, we need to switch in. It needs to go back and forth. It can't just be the instrumental from this record and the acapella from this. We need to go back and forth and need to be produced better. So I remember that, and then we started doing the human.
I remember like the 50 Cent over 9 Inch Nails.
Dude, there was the Eminem and Ozzy Osbourne.
Right.
Like we did a whole album. Like there's some really good shit.
Yeah, definitely.
But honestly, it was Stretch who did, again, copying people. It was, okay, I like what you did. I'm going to take it a step further.
Right.
And the other thing about AM was that he did it he packaged it in a way that it wouldn't make the crowd stop. Like a lot, when people turntablism doesn't usually equal sexy girls and like a good party.
Right.
Turntablism usually means sweaty guys with backpacks and bad breath, like standing around a DJ.
Yeah.
So
Like
AM,
the DMC, like all the
the
DJs.
DMC. So AM was able to package it in a way that was exciting and fun for like just the general crowd, and especially girls.
Yeah.
Which made, and so that's what, and also it was the other factor I would throw in there is that he's the hardest working DJ I've still ever seen. Like there was no breaking. There was no like, oh, let me just let this run for like a minute or whatever. Like he was always
He kept it going.
What's the next thing? What's the next thing? There's always working on the next layer.
Yeah.
All the time.
That wasn't Clinton Sparks? It was
And the second thing that I think he really, really brought, and I think beyond anybody, any other DJ, and I could be wrong, y'all correct me, I think he brought that celebrity shit to the DJ, where like celebrities really like wanted to see him. He was the celebrity's favorite DJ.
Oh, yeah.
Clint Sparks, I think that's one of the things that when he said, he's like, I had Paris Hilton there. I was like, first of all, Paris Hilton was going to clubs in New York.
You know what?
She was already in there.
When I was DJing that like my first year, they was all going there. Paris
all
Hilton,
going out.
The Hilton sisters, Britney Spears.
But was Asher Roth there? That's the question. That was the name that stood out to me.
No,
I know.
not at all.
I'll tell you something real quick that's resonating with the whole podcast. Anytime someone like steps up to you and go, yo, I was the first, blah, 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 it should be a red flag.
We just had a
We just
meeting.
said that.
We just had a
Dude, it
meeting
should be-
before you guys showed up, and we said there's a new rule on this podcast. no one's allowed to say I'm the first to anything.
No.
Well,
You know, like
even when they say that, I'm
Yeah.
just like, yo, it's not where you're from, it's where you're at. You
'Cause
know, where are
usually-
you, what are you doing now? How are you progressing now? Are you still relevant? You know,
Right.
Tesla wasn't the first electric car, but no one's driving a Chevy Bolt.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's anytime you open the door, it's minimal, it's hype. I get it. I was the first to do this. I was the first to do this. I get it.
But anyone saying they were the first are always afraid. They always got something, they got influenced or they got put on or someone helped them along the way. They're always bigging someone up that came beforehand. Or help them kind of, leverage them to put them in a situation where they could be the first.
Listen, you always copy the other person and then you make it your own. Bruce Lee. That's exactly what you do. You copy the person before you and then you make it your own.
That's the new rule. No one's allowed to say they're
It's not about.
first.
Basically, it's not about who did it first. It's who did
Yeah.
it better, right?
I mean,
Well, who's still
could be,
doing it?
Yeah.
And that too.
Who's still? I like staying power.
Well, you know
Pause.
what? Yeah. I think
No pause now. Okay.
I think it's all important because I think whoever's doing it now is important. Whoever was the best is important, and who did it first and brought it to the scene is important. I think they're all.
Everyone has a role.
I think I think it's so important. That's why you guys are all here. You know what I mean? And at this time, because I always hear about this, and when I first moved out here, everyone's saying like, "Yo, you got to come out to you got to go to Opium, you got to go to Opium." So when did you and a lot of like locals know this because, I wanted to talk about this a little bit more about, all these nightclubs creating these terms to like, shield or filter the hip hop word.
I'll tell
You know
you-
what I'm saying? 'Cause, like,
I-
mashup is like a corporate boardroom like word that they were like, yo, this is sellable and we could sell hip hop this way.
So here, this is what comes down to. When you bring in the wrong element, black people, brown people, whatever, then usually what happens, white people usually leave because they feel uncomfortable. Now, if you grew up in the city, that's not true because you usually grew up around other black people. So you're comfortable around it. Not that many people live there. Have grown up there. So you take a Vegas club, everyone's from the suburbs of the world, and all of a sudden you get this rowdy bunch of brown people, and all of a sudden there's another table, you start feeling uncomfortable. It's not anything the brown people did. It's not anything. It's a great business move. From a business point of view, I'd probably do the same effing thing. I don't want these people here because I make more money. But from a cultural point of view, that is what happens. They show up, and the people that are comfortable are the people that grew up around brown people or black people and know these guys are fine. And that's what happens is the bulk of these people that grew up in suburbs just leave because they're uncomfortable. And that's bad for business. You really saw it during the All-Star game. I don't know if you guys were around during the All-Star game.
Yeah.
That was the biggest faux pas in Vegas history.
To this day, that'll never happen.
It probably will now because we have
That's
more
what happened.
infrastructure.
We got the Super Bowl coming up.
Now it will happen. It will happen. But dude,
You think NBA All-Star in Vegas again?
because
It'll definitely happen.
What year was that?
I
Like
think
06 or so?
07.
I think the
07?
infrastructure. You remember that, right?
I remember because that was this is a funny story. That was the very first weekend I used Serato.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah.
That's bold. That's bold.
NBA All-Star weekend. Was
I remember being in the MGM Grand, and the place it looked like Freaknik, and all of the security guards, like 8 of them, were all grouped up in the corner, just scared. And I remember thinking, "Ooh, this is not good." And looking at it from a cultural point of view, I'm like, I understand. They're not used to these people. These people are not,
Right.
You just don't. If from a cultural point of view, you're not comfortable. That's just how it is.
Do you remember when we were spinning at Light and Jet and they were like, hey, All-Star Weekend's coming? And they were like, we're installing metal detectors.
Yep.
And we were like, and then I remember you were like insulted. You were like kind of heated. You were like,
Was I?
you were just like, why they got to put metal detectors when fucking hip hop and black people come into fucking Vegas?
I could have said
And
that.
then we also got to talk about in the 2000s, and I could say this.
Me and Never gonna have our own podcast.
Yeah.
What up?
In the 2000s and like early 2010s, there wasn't a lot of black and brown people of color presence in the city. It was very rare to see black people, like you see black people and people of color in the city now.
Yeah.
Like it's very different.
Dude, this is still a small town.
Yeah.
We barely hit 1 million people in 2000. So,
I remember.
and
like,
there's a lot of suburbia here.
Yeah. Well, we had a day party. I remember there was one of the first day parties, and it probably is at daylight. probably like maybe 2018 or 17. And I was like, and it was like 60% black people and people of color, Latino. And I was like, yo, this is the first time I'm seeing this. Like it was very recent. Like
It was definitely daylight.
Yeah, it was like 2016 or 17.
17
And
probably.
I remember texting my boys like, yo, I've never seen this diverse a crowd coming to Vegas. And you know, you can even talk about that, you know, on that large scale, you know, you've seen it from the 2000s to now. I mean, it was very rare to see that many black people, you know, coming into Vegas, into the city, right?
Very true.
Yeah.
It all started for me in 01. Actually, when I first moved here, there was a spot called Glow at the Hop. I'm going to take you on a little timeline right quick.
Yeah.
So Glow at the Hop, I used to DJ that every Friday and Saturday. And like I said before, you know, bottle service.
Where was that?
That was on Tropicana, like Tropicana
Was Pauly
and
still there?
Spencer. Pauly was the
Pauly
one who
was still there,
hired
yeah.
me.
Yes.
Pauly Freeman?
Yeah.
Pauly was the
Pauly
one who
Freeman was
hired
at
me.
Utopia too.
Oh, I know that.
yeah.
He had long hair.
Yeah, that's Pauly. Shout out to Pauly. So 01, 02, I did that, and then came the SRO, which was after hours. So I would DJ at the Glow at the Hop, and then go right to SRO, which was a block away on Flamingo, because Glow at the Hop was on Tropicana. And
On the
0662.
east side, right? On the east side?
On the east side,
East
yeah.
side of town.
0662.
Yes, yes.
yeah,
06662, where Shix Club was.
So the SRO was the old 662 where Warren used to play. Wow.
Three times.
Three times.
Let's get it straight.
Full circle. So I used to do that, and then there was the Blue Note.
Oh wow.
Yeah, the Blue Note right there on what was that, Harmon? I'll never forget that spot. There was just a bunch of, you know, different clubs I used to DJ at, like, you know, every weekend, because it was all part of the radio station promotion. Blue Note, I played at Utopia a couple times. And then in 03 came Juice. It was a Sunday hip hop party at the House of Blues, which I did bi-weekly. And my MC was Craig G from the Juice Club.
absolutely.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, he used to live out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shit.
Shout out to MC Craig G, man. That's my
And a
guy.
gun fell out of his pocket on stage.
When Mobb Deep came through, I'll never forget. Oh my goodness, yo, that was a crazy moment. Like, I get chills thinking about that time, because I saw it. I was like, oh, whoa, we're inside a casino. We're at the House.
Like in your head, the music stopped a little bit, right?
Oh, it didn't stop. It definitely
head.
stopped.
That
Everything
record
stopped.
skip.
We're talking about everything.
But that spot right there was special. Shout out to Brian Affronti, who's at Dre's, and Ramon Mata. They actually started that party on Sunday nights, and we had a lot of people come through. I'll never forget. Luda came by one night. And then right before Yeah by Usher came out, Little John had gave me a CD like, yo, you got to play this. This is a new single I did for Usher. It's called Yeah, it's about to blow up. Next thing you know, it came out a couple weeks later. It was the biggest song in the world.
It was on CD.
It was on CD. I'll never forget that. So that was like around 04. There was a lot of other clubs that I did. And of course, we were talking about the Magic Convention, all the events going on during the Magic Convention, the clothing convention. I did, a lot of events for like Fat Farm and Rockaware, even a couple events for LRG as well. But once 05, 06 came around, that's when OPM Poetry.
Poetry, right?
It became poetry later, right? It started
was
as
first called
OPM.
and then the OPM group in Miami, which owned Privé, had a lawsuit against OPM in Vegas, the spot I used to DJ at.
Yeah.
And that's why we had to change the name to Poetry Nightclub.
Oh, is that what happened?
Wow.
Yeah,
And you were DJing at Privé too. I would come see you.
So that's part of the timeline as well. So Poetry OPM was like 05 to like 09.
Yeah.
And then once Privé opened, that's when I got the residency on Monday.
So Opium and Poetry, right? This was the club when I moved out here in 05. Everyone's like, I was like, yo, where the fuck are the hip hop parties? Because he would spin hip hop. But I was like, yo, I remember in New York, I would always, when I wasn't working, I wanted to go to a hood night. Like, I just wanted to go like just hear
Research.
all the hood records, just like, because Sundays was really the hip hop nights in New York. Every Sunday was
Tunnel.
Like,
I remember going to the Tunnel.
Yeah, I mean this is the Black Diamond era, in New York. And then so I would come out here and they were like, "Yo, you want to hear that shit? You got to go to Poetry." And I remember I would walk through the forum shops, and it was the most black people I've ever seen in my life in Vegas. And I was like, oh shit, this is the spot.
And it was upstairs on the second floor, right?
Upstairs on the second floor.
Right. You would see it from. It wasn't really a good location, to be honest.
It was-
It was absolutely not.
Yes.
They
never are.
There was a toy store across from it, right?
FAO Sports.
FAO Sports,
The big horse.
The big horse. Yeah.
Yo, this is like when I saw like bottles of Hypnotic and Hennessy just coming out.
Facts.
in the
Incredible
club.
Hulk.
Incredible Hulks was the shit back then, yo. And yeah, and then I heard you I think I met you for the first time, and I was like, oh shit, this is the face of like real hip hop.
I remember seeing you rocking a party there one time, and it was packed, dude. And you were playing like, kind of like San Francisco hip hop.
Oh yeah, Bay Area music.
Bay Area
that was like
music.
our Sunday night party.
I don't know why I said San Francisco. Bay Area hip hop.
I remember
Fix that.
real props to Franzen for this. I remember like just when I was getting out of R.O.A.D, or the last couple like years, Franzen came in heavy with this Bay Area. I was like, what is this? Like, I was never a Bay Area fan. Like, I'm not really a huge I'm not a Bay Area music fan. And he came in and was like, Bay Area. I remember you turned like everybody. I remember, damn, I gotta get hyphy songs now. I gotta get that because none of this was around.
Right.
And Franzen came in.
It was never around,
Dude, it wasn't because I know it wasn't around because I was doing the club.
Oh wow!
And then Franzen came in. He kept going Bay Area, Franley Bay, all the little acronyms you did with your name. Genius, by the way, absolutely genius.
Definitely.
And so you do all that stuff, and I'd be like, oh shit, and I'm like, I guess I got to get this hyphy shit.
Yo, when I moved out here,
Federation.
Yeah, when I moved out here, there was kind of like in the 2006 and 7. I mean, obviously, the emergence of like Bay Area
That was all
hip hop
him.
was
That
like,
was him.
It was already big, but like, yo, I used to tell my boys in New York, I'm like, yo, everyone is requesting all this Bay shit.
That was him.
And I was like, I feel like fucking Vegas is like mini San Francisco.
That was him.
And
I'm
it's
telling
because
you
of-
that he was a leader of that.
It's because of you.
Definitely.
You had that you made that Bay Area presence in Las Vegas, and even if there weren't a lot of Bay Area motherfuckers here, you made it so that they were loud enough to be like, yo, I got to play Bay Area shit.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And that's how that whole movement started. Once it started to get in abundance and more people would put out music. You got to understand, Blow the Whistle came out in 2006.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when I started at OPM. So I remember playing that record when it was brand new.
I mean, fam, like I told motherfuckers when they came to Vegas from New York, I'm like, you need these records. You need Super Hyphy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tell me when to go.
Yes.
You need Feeling Myself. You need Feeling Myself.
Feeling Myself wasn't popping before that hyphy movement.
No.
That all came out around that, you know. Well, actually, no. Feeling Myself actually came out before the
listen,
hype movement.
listen,
but it was still
but it
one of
didn't
those
pop.
It did. It only mattered when he started playing it.
Yeah.
Whether it be old or not, because I wasn't playing it, no one else was playing it.
And it was like too
and then
short.
he started playing
and it was like
just
too
killed
short.
it.
Yeah, and then it was like too short. Burn Rubber.
Burn Rubber.
Burn Rubber.
Shake That Monkey.
Yeah, Shake That Monkey.
All that time.
And then Blow the Whistle is like obviously the biggest one. But I remember telling them, and I would hear Neva and Eddie, and that was like the Bay Area set. You had to play.
Yes.
You had to rotate those 6 records.
Yes.
And then you guys would play some of this old shit that I would never even fucking know, which was like Pimp of the Year or
all this
Drew Down. I love Drew Down.
or Bitch Better Have My Money and all this shit.
If you really got good to you play MC Breed. Then
MC Breed.
MC Breed was really a turning point. You knew you had a party if you throw MC Breed.
When I came from New York,
Ain't No
like,
Future.
Ain't no future.
Ain't the future in the front.
That hit to the beat shop. Bam.
Crazy.
I look
You
at these.
knew.
I look at these motherfuckers that
But you
came
know
from
what?
New York. I was like, yo.
Funkmaster Flex used to play that in New York.
Oh, he did. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Funkmaster Flex. I'll never forget one of my first times in New York in '95. Headed to my hotel from the airport, I heard Funkmaster Flex playing. I got 5 on it.
Yeah, he played that also. Yeah.
And here we go with this shit. I was the first.
There we go.
Oh shit.
No. Because, y'all heard this story before. I was the first DJ ever to play that on radio and in the club because they gave me a DAT.
Cricket, throw him the hat.
I'll never forget. They gave me a DAT,
Gave you
and
a DAT.
and I remember that sample. I'm like, man, that's Timex Social Club. That's
Why
Bay
you treat
Area.
me so bad?
Well, why you treat the Bay Area
Which
at its
song?
finest?
That's right. Yeah.
Timex Social Club.
Which song?
I got 5 on it.
No,
by the
no,
Loonies.
Oh, yeah.
Loonies?
Yeah.
Club Nouveau.
Huh? Club Nouveau. Yep.
Why you
Club
keep me so
Nouveau.
bad?
That's
Yeah.
right.
The guy's name
They
was
the same
Jay
group.
Jay
Yeah.
something. Jay something from Club Nouveau.
Yes.
That's the guy produced it.
You're right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
The same producers from En Vogue.
Yeah.
Yes.
Shout out to them, man.
Damn, we're going down to nerdy.
No, we are,
musical.
we are.
It's crazy because I learned how to DJ in the Bay Area. So all this shit like Mr. Fab, Grown Man On, all that shit
Yeah.
I knew. So when it exploded, I was like, y'all late to the party. But I learned how to DJ in the Bay Area in 05, 06.
Yeah.
And that's when I knew all that shit. So when it got out, I'm like,
Yeah,
Well,
because
I used to listen to radio in San Francisco, and because I knew the internet, you could listen to radio stations.
yeah.
And then I had someone record melody out of LA for me, and then I had through somebody I forget through someone in LA, I had a server in New York. And I could stream New York radio.
Yeah. Mhm.
So I would listen to Flex all the time, and Flex melody, and I'd listen to the Bay to figure out what was going on.
well, you can go on their website, like hot97.com, and you can listen to.
This is before
But this
then.
is before that,
Oh,
though.
this is
man.
before
then.
Way before.
No, because I was like 04, 05 listening
Yeah, this is
to that.
before then.
Before that? Okay.
Yeah.
I think
Because I knew the heartbeat was. I gotta listen to LA, and I
Yeah.
gotta listen to New York.
Got to. Those
Yeah.
are the two markets like must. And this is pre social media era.
Yeah.
Songs
Yeah.
were going viral and shit. Like you really had to do work.
I mean, the closest thing that was social media, and it wasn't even then. It's not even close. But the closest thing, because it's tied to a phone, were just ringtones, right?
Yes.
Facts.
Yeah.
So
Facts.
the songs, like even back then, we were like, wait, this is a big ringtone. I
it
got to
was-
play this shit
And it was
now.
like a tone play. It was like,
Right, yeah.
So real quick,
the two-way.
real quick with you guys. So I don't really spin in like clubs right now, where unless it's a private party, and the private party is usually always older. So how hard is it to DJ, especially Franzen, because I've been there,
Oh yeah.
when you are competing against the phone? Like, how do you even get a person's attention?
well, let's ask friends in that because
I've been in the room, and I'm like, man, I'm so fucking glad I don't gotta be here.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, some people are just. I think what it is too. Like I talk to certain people, it's that anxiety. Like they just feel distracted. They feel in their own world when they're on the phone.
Well,
Like
it's like they're socially awkward, so they
But-
resort to
no,
their
it's
phone.
everybody.
Yeah, but a lot of people, there's different, everyone has different relationships with their phone.
Yeah.
Some people are socially awkward, so they go to their phone first. They
feel
check
safe.
Yeah, they feel safe.
Yeah.
Because
That's a
imagine
safe spot,
it's
yeah.
like kind of when you're smoking in a club. You're kind of a little nervous, you're awkward.
Right,
You go for a cigarette, but instead of a cigarette, you're going for your phone. And then everybody in your Instagram and Twitter. So then you're just kind of talking with people and you feel like comfortable.
You guys run into that too, right? Like, how do you? I've seen friends in like the party's
Well, this-
going, momentum's picking up, and then girls are like dancing with their
Right.
phone, and
Yeah.
then they stop, and then they dance with their phone. I'm like, dude, how do you?
But friends will call them my.
I will call them out. That's
Yeah.
one thing I
Okay,
will
good.
do. Like if I see any like, especially if I know they're at a table, they're VIP
all
like-
the time.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like you came to the club to hop on your phone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like for real? I understand the selfies and putting.
He's made me feel guilty. I'll just be like, oh shit.
Oh, shit.
Dude, I see it. I see it. I'm like, man. I'm so glad I'm not DJing.
Yeah, but you
I'm
know what
so glad.
Franzen does though, and I've noticed as I've seen him at Dre's for a while, and I've seen how his performances have like evolved. I think one of the things to battle against people on their phones is to create moments that they want to document. So like, he'll do swag surfing. He'll make it more than just a song. He'll have the dancers come out. He'll pour Patron into people's mouths and stuff. He'll make it. You have like a couple of these I don't know, what do you want to say?
Moments.
Yeah. You'll have a couple of these moments throughout the night where you're just kind of like, yo, like these are big songs. Let's create big moments. So
Yeah.
people are like not looking at their phones, but they're recording or
Nice.
like they're kind of getting pulled into everything.
They're participating.
Right.
Yeah.
So like I've seen you do that shit. I think maybe couple of the first DJs that I also saw doing that was like Esco when he had DJ Esco when he had a residency at Drake
Dre's,
yeah.
on
That was
Thursdays.
on Thursdays, yeah.
Yeah, he started like everyone was mad because he wasn't DJing and he was in the front more,
And he was
Yeah.
dancing.
and he was like being more performative.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like later I kind of got it. I was like, I see what he's doing. Like you got to keep people
Exactly.
entertained
Exactly.
throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, I think seeing Franzen inspired me to take more chances with records, and that's how he kind of brings people in. He'll play some like crazy R&B you've never heard, and then everyone just comes together and everybody's in one. So they put the phone down and stuff like that.
Well, you want to talk about taking chances. Now we're talking about Dre's. Is the balls that Victor Dre and BA had even doing the move they did. Like I know
Facts.
a lot of inside stories. So I opened up with Dre's, And
That's right.
I opened Dre's, and then
They had an identity crisis.
yeah, 4 months in, they're like, this shit ain't working. Boom.
Because they tried to launch with EDM.
Right, like everyone else. But they saw they like, this is not working. We're going hip hop. And I remember, because I was cool with BA, because I was at Excess, and BA was at Excess.
Right.
And I remember BA would tell me like the stories, like, yeah, man, the cops come, you know, blah blah blah. If we bring so and so, they're gonna pull our liquor license. They're gonna pull this license.
Damn.
And I'm like, so you're not bringing them? I said, no, we're bringing them. I said, wow, you guys got balls. And then I remember that the Dre's era is when I really started trying to get into the business, figuring out the business and the economics of nightclubs. And I remember BA said, yeah, if we can pay down half our loan or a quarter of our loan this year, then our interest rate is cut in half. Oof. I was like, oh, like all the light bulbs came on. I was like, I know exactly what you guys are doing now. And I remember the flack from, you know, my friends at XS when I went to Dre's. Oh, that's the Black Club. I'm like, dude, you guys have no idea. That's not the Black Club. That is pop culture right there. Right. I said, everyone's going to catch up to him. Don't worry about it. Everyone's going to catch up to him. But the balls to do that on that corner, and knowing, I knew what Opium had gone through with shit. I knew what I had gone through with shit. So for Dre's Victor to pull out his dick and say, I'm doing this, you know, and I've seen him do it a couple times, you know.
Right. Whoa.
The argument he got in with Steve Wynn at XS, you know. And side note, Victor Ray builds the most beautiful clubs in America. I'm sorry, like it's hard to match him what he's doing.
Shout out to Victor.
But yeah, so I remember when they were taught, when they went completely hip hop.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a brilliant move.
Yeah, I told you the story. Like,
Yeah.
Sunday nights were only hip hop night. Sundres, which is Sundres. This is like late 2014 going into 15. And I would open up for the EDM DJs on Fridays and Saturdays, you know, but I would play hip hop until the headline and DJ came on.
Yeah.
So from 10 to like 12:30 was you.
Like,
hip-hop.
yeah, 10:30 to 12:30, I would go on, play hip hop. But they would see the shift as far as people spending money. They would spend more money when hip hop was on than the EDM, because you gotta think, we're competing against Calvin Harris at this spot, we Tiesto at this spot, you know, we got Diplo at this spot. So it's like the EDM DJs we had, they weren't as big as those names that I just named. You know, they were like the second tier EDM DJs.
Third tier.
Third tier.
And
I was there. So I remember, third tier. Yeah.
And they would bring in guest DJs. Like, I remember in the early days of Dre's, I would come in, I would do like a Friday or Saturday, and I'd like kind of have to juggle, you know, either hip hop and EDM. But as they started going on and you started having more of a presence there, it obviously turned into more hip hop and more hip hop and more hip hop.
And then next thing you know,
before you know it, they were literally, and like you said, the balls to stamp themselves as a hip hop club.
Well, you know what? Even smarter, they didn't say hip hop club. They said live performances.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I think we got.
I was like, dude,
I think we got to credit Constantine for bringing that live performance concept. To Dre's, because that's what he did, is like, which is what he did in Park City in Utah, where he had the rappers and performers come in. They do, instead of doing 3 songs, they would do a 30-minute, 40-minute performance, and then it would be surrounded around the performance. But he's one of the first people to you know, insert that and bring hip hop to the stage and make it work. And that formula is still going on to this day. Yeah.
And at that time, you know, it was still EDM heavy in Vegas.
Right.
Not a lot of people would book, you know.
Well, people started
artists.
getting confused.
Yeah.
Right. Because like, I remember when Hayes opened, they had like Guetta one night, and then they had like a hip hop DJ one night. And then it was just like, yo, you guys have to like have an identity for a club. Like, people need to know where to go. Like, even to this day now, people are like, yo, I'm in Vegas, where do I go? I'm like, fam, I don't know. Because there's no resident DJs anywhere.
The only one we know is Franzen.
The only one we know is like Franzen at Dre's. But like, I can't send someone to this club on a Saturday because I don't know who the fuck is DJing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's gonna play or she's gonna play more hip hop or EDM.
Yeah.
You know, and then you have like they're bringing like LA hip hop DJs to these big rooms, and they're playing EDM. And I'm just like, all right, like, people are just getting confused.
Yeah.
Because if you know a big hip hop LA radio DJ, you're like, oh, well, shit, I'm going to go and listen to them play hip hop. Nah, they're playing mostly EDM throughout the night.
Yeah.
So I can't even, there's no identity for nothing right now. So when I tell people that, it's so hard. Like, And that's the one thing that Dre's has. It has an identity.
Very
like,
true.
You know what you're walking into.
Yep.
And it's like, yo, Sundays is like this. And then, like, and throughout even if it's a Friday or Saturday, it's going to be somewhat hip hop, And I think the one thing I got to credit you, and then people don't know this, but during the EDM boom, around the late 2000s and early 2010s, I think all these clubs went straight to EDM. And, Never, me, a whole bunch of DJs. I mean, we were always DJing house and dance
We always
music.
mix it in, yeah.
But we had to incorporate way more EDM because we were like, yo, we got to work.
Yeah.
So we were like, hip hop got moved to the side rooms, and we were kind of mixing EDM and hip hop and everything. And even me during those times, I was leaning more to EDM. But you stuck to your guns throughout all those years.
Had hats.
And hats later on.
You had hashtags.
And you stuck to your guns and you stayed hip hop.
Yeah.
And you did these rooms off the strip, and you kept it popping. When motherfuckers came into town, they came to see you, and you kept hip hop living off the strip, during those rough times.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if anyone ever tips their hat to you, but I tip my hat to you, so that when you finally found a home at Dre's and you became the face of Dre's and hip hop in the city, I was so happy for you.
It was long overdue, man.
It was long overdue, and I was so proud of you that after 10 to 15 years of you really grinding in the city and sticking to your guns and really sacrificing all the shit for hip hop and the culture, that you finally had the platform for what you had.
Yeah.
To the point where like all these like out of town motherfuckers who would, they would tour, they would do Vegas. Like, yo, why is Franzen doing like he's one of the few motherfuckers that was doing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
And I'm still doing that.
You're still doing
Still
that.
doing that to this day.
Yeah.
And it's like, and they were like, why are they having this motherfucker Friday, Saturday, Sunday? They not rotating no motherfucker. I'm like, yo, fam, you don't understand. This dude has been just grinding through everything. Like he's been there. He's been a survivor with this whole hip hop shit.
The crazy thing is, this year, 2023, is the very first year that I decided to take 2 weeks off, 2 weekends off every month, so I could travel, and go to different cities.
I see you traveling.
You know what I mean? So, if anybody's out there wondering why I'm not at Dre's every weekend this summer, is because I wanted to take that time to actually explore other cities and play for other people.
Yeah, you're gonna.
It's a challenge.
Yeah, you're gonna be spinning in New York soon, right?
Yeah, New York. Yep, I'm going back home to the Bay this Thursday, and then Toronto for Carabana for the weekend. Friday,
Crazy.
Saturday, Sunday.
Wait, is Drake doing the OVO Fest?
No, not this year, because he's on tour.
I was like, damn, that's why he's going up there.
I want to hear your take during that time, what you were going through,
Well,
and how the city was. You know what I'm saying?
Around that time, I also got to commend the other people that booked me at these other spots, such as Bank, JT. Shout out to JT.
Yeah.
Shout out to Moose.
Moose, yeah.
Moose is the one who got me at Hayes to do a couple guest spots. Also, there's a bunch of other spots, Club 7, C2K, like all these other spots that I've DJed at throughout my career here in Vegas. But around that time, I think it was, what year did Pop That come out?
2012.
2012?
And I only know that because I went to see you for the first time in Vegas at Oracle, and you had that
Oracle, wow.
You had that bitch fucking popping, bro.
Okay, so around 2012, so it was a couple years before 2012. So around 2010, we had a party at Hayes. It was an industry party. It was, I think, around the Magic Convention. They had French Montana and Rick Ross there. And something occurred on the Strip.
Yeah. Oh, we got to talk about this.
The Rick
That
Ross
night.
incident.
This is actually
Yes.
yeah,
And they talking
this is what happened that made Vegas like literally ban hip hop.
This
from
is
the
it.
Strip. Yeah.
This is it. So
This was
It was-
Rick
I
Ross
think-
at Hayes.
it was a Karmaloop party. I think a Karmaloop and Crooks and Castles party that I DJ'd at. And there was an incident that happened on the Strip. And of course, they blamed it on hip hop because the people who got into the incident were at Hayes or in the valet or something like that.
I mean, it was kind of crazy. Like it was like it was explosions on Flamingo.
Yeah,
in
yes.
Las
A
Vegas.
car caught on fire.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
It was insane.
A couple of lives lost anyways. So that right there was when I got quote unquote banned from the strip. I couldn't DJ, I couldn't play hip hop.
Oh, welcome to the club.
Yeah. So around that time, so you got to think 2010, 2011. No, actually 2010. Like right when I got out of Privé and I was doing those guest spots, 2011 is when that incident happened. And they were like, no more hip hop in Vegas.
Right.
And that's when I was like, I've been doing the sweet parties at the Palms already. I've been doing those, on a small scale. But I was like, man, this is my chance to actually get some sponsors, get the bigger rooms, and throw real parties at the Palms. And that's when we started getting the Kingpin suite and the basketball suite. Drake, Justin Bieber, Rick Ross, all these people started finding I was doing these private parties, and they would hire me to do these parties at the Palms.
Right.
I would do sweet parties at the Palms. Shout out to John Gray, by the way. I would do sweet parties at the Palms probably like 4 to 6 times a month when I didn't have no gigs on the strip.
Wow. I didn't even know that.
So around that time is when everything stopped for me. And then 2014,
you were still grinding, hustling on the side.
Definitely.
You still had, the funny thing is, all that grinding, hustling with you doing those suites, you were hosting the biggest artists that were like emerging at that time. Drake, all these people coming into town. And that's literally what gave you all the leverage, like even to this day now. And sustained all these relationships that you have now, even with Drake and everything. Playing hosts like that. I really tip my hat off to you, man, during those times.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Because, like, we all, like, we all had to sell out and pay our bills, but, I mean, like, and you really stuck to your guns, and then, where you are right now, I look at you and I'm just like, I'm so happy for you, and I feel like you're at the right place with working with the right people, and like, I see you flourishing, and I'm like, and you were like, we talk about the very early beginnings, the next stage of hip hop in Vegas, and you're currently like leading the way.
That's right.
From all the work that Warren Peace and Shecky and countless others have done.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a blessing to be in this position, and I know there's 1,000 of other DJs that would love to be in my position, but my time's not up yet.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I'm still here for a reason, doing what I love to do. And when it comes to the culture, like, I've been a part of this culture professionally since 1990. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen it all, like, for real. Like, seeing Too Short perform with a live band back in 1991 for the first time, like the first hip hop act I've ever seen perform with a live band. To seeing him now perform, and he's still doing it over instrumentals, which a lot of artists don't do.
Yeah.
A lot of artists don't perform over instrumentals.
They're rapping over their own songs, right?
Yeah.
Who are the artists that are still rapping over instrumentals? Because you have so many performers at Dre's. Like, who are the artists that stand out?
Who puts on a good show? Who's actually
who puts on a
of
good
the new
show?
Generation of rappers?
Who's
new generation?
And then secondly, who's not throwing microphones at people?
Bobbing and weaving over here.
As far as the new generation goes, I mean, Lil Wayne is definitely not from the new generation, but he's definitely one of my favorite performers that we've had.
He puts on a show. He's got a show.
Unbelievable show. Right. Talks to the crowd over instrumentals. Like, he gets it. He's OG.
Yeah.
But as far as the newer cast, let's see. Big Sean definitely performs over instrumentals.
And he's not even new. Like,
What about the Migos?
They perform over their tracks.
Oh, okay.
They've always had. And
everyone performs over their tracks pretty much.
For the most part.
Yeah, I think you were mentioning Chris Brown is even singing over his tracks, right?
Yeah, he's up there dancing, and I get it. But the thing is, like, he's hitting all these notes. Like, I hear him.
Yeah.
He's performing over the tracks, but I hear his real voice. He's performing, like, saying every single word. I don't even know why he's not using instrumentals. But then again, people are saying, but the dancing up there, he's doing a lot of dancing. I'm like, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Not everybody can be like Beyonce. Yeah. Beyonce goes crazy on that stage and performs over all instrumentals.
Right.
The worst is if you're in a crowd and someone's rapping over or singing over their own voice, but they're out of pitch. So you hear like two separate voices kind of That's the
Or
worst.
they're
And
yelling. Oh, that's the worst.
And it's not just the new generation. There's also some of the most legendary rappers still do it. Like, unfortunately, I think Rakim frequently raps over his own vocals.
Really?
Yes. And even Slick Rick also.
What?
You wouldn't catch Jay doing that.
These are two of my favorite rappers, probably my two favorite rappers among them of all time. But the new generation, it doesn't surprise me to hear that they're all doing that, but it's so much better, guys. If you have a chance, just make it what they call a TV track, which is
That's it.
You have like instrumental in the verse, and then the chorus.
You got the vocals.
The vocals come back so that you can have that feeling of energy.
Nowadays, you just hit a button on your controller.
Yeah, just you got the stems right there, right?
Yeah, just hit a button, you're good. Like whatever. I'm not going in.
I think one of the problems too, and this is not all the rappers, but I would say most of the rappers. You could tell me if I'm wrong. I think most of the rappers, DJs, are just homies from the block.
Oh, without a doubt.
And they're just playing. They're just kind of like rolling, and they have to kind of like, I want to kind of get paid too, and I'm rolling with you, and I'm the homie. They're like, well, if you want to get paid, like DJ for me. So they're just kind of learning to DJ.
Yeah.
But they're maybe in a situation where they don't know enough to really make the show better, or
they get too drunk.
Yeah, or I don't know. But I mean, that's what actually. I don't know. The recent Cardi B situation where she threw the mic at someone in the crowd and then all of this.
Well, there were two incidents.
Yeah.
One was at the nightclub, and the next incident was outside at the pool. Like, no more than 14 hours later.
But she threw the mic at her own DJ.
Well, she didn't need the mic. The vocal was still in the track. So.
The first night when she was at the nightclub, she threw the mic, I believe, at the DJ, which is Ray G, who's her
DJ.
Very, very cool guy. Yeah, it was somebody up there, whoever was behind that DJ booth, because I had just left 5 minutes prior to that incident.
Smart.
So, well, the thing is, like, I like to leave, like, I got to make sure the sound is right and everything, right? But once it gets going, I like to leave before the artists get off because I want to beat the traffic. You know what I'm saying? That valet is a mess at the Cromwell.
Yeah.
All the time.
Oh, yeah.
I like to beat all that. Like, I'm not trying to hang out. Like, I've done all the hanging out already.
There we go.
You know what I mean?
Agreed.
So
Totally.
I'm trying to leave before the whole crowd leaves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
the rumor that I heard, and you don't have to
Confirm.
confirm anything, but the rumor I heard was that he was cutting off the songs, and just like I don't know, just kind of like cutting songs off and cutting the beat out at the wrong times.
I think, or he wasn't cutting off the song when they were supposed to, something like that. There's so many stories out there. But the second incident, which happened at the pool, is crazy because when she got on stage, she started talking her shit. It's hot as fuck out here.
Yeah.
You bitches throw some water at me. I need some water.
Oh.
Yeah, so she was telling the crowd to throw water at her in the very beginning of the performance.
No wonder the girl went through the water. She was like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, she looked like she was a fan.
Yeah.
And she legitimately, there's another angle where they kind of show a closer up of the girl who did it. And she was like, really like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
And it's not like she flung, she
just spilled the drink.
She had the cup still in her hand. She just flung the...
She did it like a, hey, Cardi. Like,
yeah. Well, like I said, Cardi multiple times has said, it's hot as fuck out here. I need throw some water on me. She was saying some out of line shit too. I'm pretty sure you could
so she asked for it.
find that online.
That's a pretty good impression.
But I think at that time when Bodak Yellow was going on, she didn't request no water being thrown on her, right? But you got to think the crowd is still like, she wants water on her. Yeah. Why not go ahead and throw water on her?
That girl probably thought, Cardi's hot right now.
But
she needs some water.
I noticed she had a cup though, so it probably wasn't water. It probably something.
Could have been a drink,
a mixed drink, something sticky. And Cardi knew that it was. You know what I mean? I don't know, but it was just
that's what you got to deal with.
Two mics being thrown in under 14 hours.
Damn, the audio tech is pissed. He's like, man, this is big.
It take an act of Congress for me to come out to a rap concert. Dude, I am just I've just seen too many, and I've just seen, I prefer like live instruments now.
Me too.
It just,
I love it.
It's funny as a DJ, you're growing moments. Like when I remember when Juvenile was released, I was like, hey, I'm done with this. I'm not. Ha came out. I was like, I'm done with hip hop. This is
really?
That's a long time ago,
dude. I hated.
That's Ha. 99.
Dude, Ha. I was like, I'm done with this. Like, this is horrible. And I remember
the Jigga remix.
I started venturing. That's when I started venturing more in the house because I always loved house, and then that's the whole XS thing came in. But yeah, man,
But that was a pivotal moment in music.
Oh, without a doubt. I'm not doubting that. I was just like, come on, where are we going with this? Like, I just didn't, I was just stuck in I was basically just being old. You talk to old people, they didn't like back in the day, blah, blah. I was just like, okay, this isn't what I signed up for. I'm like, I didn't sign up for Ha. Like, let me.
Is that the one record that sticks out?
The one Ha, listen, I had.
On the East Coast.
Everybody has that.
Ha was the
one
record.
Like, nah, not this song.
Well, I think the East Coast, that was the beginning of the East Coast playing more like South records for the first time on like New York radio. Because I remember being a fan of Ha, like, oh shit, like this is crazy. Like we've never heard anyone rap like this.
And then once the remix came out, you're like, oh, okay.
Shit.
Jay's co-signing this.
Yeah.
Well, that's important, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
Jay was putting his stamp, like, yo, y'all should fuck with this.
Yeah.
Which is which I remember.
Was Big Pimpin' after that?
It was right before it.
Before that.
Okay,
Yeah.
But that was like, we always knew there was like that South bounce.
Yeah.
But that New Orleans that other New Orleans bounce, that was new.
Yeah.
And then we started fucking with Cash Money and all that. It's really like kind of the change. Everything started changing, and we were like,
I didn't fuck with Cash Money until BG.
BG, yeah.
Bling Bling.
Yeah.
Really?
And Cash Money is an Army.
Better than
Yes, dude. Those,
Love
I was
that
like,
record.
okay, I think they can pull me back in. I think I'm back in.
How about when the Lil Wayne records came out?
I was
Block
never
is
big,
hot.
I was never a Lil Wayne fan.
No?
Nah.
You know
So
what?
BG
I
was that
wasn't-
guy for you out of
BG was it.
Okay.
I
BG
wasn't
was
a
my
fan
man.
of those Lil Wayne records.
New York
Those
wasn't
early
fucking
joints.
with it.
Yeah,
No?
we wasn't fucking with it.
New York was not
It was
fucking.
so big in
None of
LA.
them.
No.
It was crazy in
Hey,
LA.
and
When
the
he was
Bay-
wearing Bape and all that shit,
listen,
he
the Bay-
destroyed Bape.
The Bay Area ate
Really?
that up. The
Yeah.
whole
Really?
Cash Money
Wow.
thing,
Really?
they ate it up. They
Even
loved it.
the Masterpiece shit, No Limit.
Oh, yeah.
Huge
Oh
in
no,
LA.
we were fucking with No Limit.
Huge.
But with like the solo Lil Wayne shit, and he was wearing Bape. He actually in New York, like that's when everyone stopped wearing Bape because Lil Wayne was wearing it.
Get the fuck out
Right?
of here.
Yeah.
We were just
Real?
like, you were like, yo, Bape is whack. Look, Lil Wayne's wearing this shit.
Oh man, I'm not fucking with it.
Because you got to think about it. When you look at the South, they're not actually leading like fashion, right?
Yeah.
So if you're like, it's kind of like that thing where it's like, damn, they got motherfuckers like they got South motherfuckers wearing Bape. That shit is whack, yo. And everyone stopped wearing Bape.
It's
and
like Von Douche.
Like a Blackberry.
It was literally the time where like, oh shit, this shit is whack, yo. He just killed Bape, and like the sales went. I think the store was suffering.
The store closed in New York.
Yeah, because of Lil Wayne.
Because of Lil Wayne.
Yeah.
Wow, I got to do some research on that.
Yeah, that's why Pharrell dropped Mr. Me Too, because Lil Wayne was doing everything Pharrell was doing. Yeah, if you guys didn't know that.
Right, I didn't know.
I
that.
didn't know that.
That's where the beef with Pusha T and Wayne comes about, and that goes over to the beef between Pusha and Drake.
Yeah,
Wow, I didn't know
that
that.
was the demise of Bape. We were
Yeah,
like, yo.
05, yeah. When he was wearing the all purple shit, yeah.
Yeah, we was like, that's a rap. The Fireman, right?
Yeah, Fireman.
We was like,
that was
nah.
the Carter 2, which was a big thing in LA.
Yeah, that was the end ever. Yeah, so like where we are now with hip hop and looking back and everything, I'm so happy that we were able to get you guys together, and I don't know, I kind of want to have your opinion on how do you feel about nightlife right now? It's like, especially you Franzen, looking at it and just kind of like talking about the identity of venues and everything. Like where do you see it? Like, are you struggling with hip hop right now? Like I remember there was this article, or someone was saying that like there's no number one hip hop songs for the whole year.
number one hip hop albums.
And even
No one's putting out albums though.
Yeah, true.
but even on this podcast, we've mentioned that like hip hop seems like it's hitting this nostalgia phase.
And that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's crazy because when I play now and I play the Wipe Me Downs and the tracks that's 10 years or older,
Yep.
they work better than a lot of the new records.
Well, so what's happening, and I know this from having 3 kids, is Spotify. Now you have access to everything, and Shecter can attest to this.
That's it.
Now you have access to everything. So there is no more old and new. There's just everything. My kids have an Afrobeats playlist. They have an old school hip hop playlist. They have a rock playlist. They have they listen to classical music. My kid came to me like a couple years ago, said, "You ever heard of Brandy and Monica?" I'm like, "Yes." I said, "Listen to SWV." Listen. He pulled up the whole playlist. A week later, he'd been listening to all that.
Wow.
So there's no more. So from a DJ point of view, there's no such thing as old and new anymore. It's just music.
Well, do you think you had an influence on that though?
No.
That's all.
That's all them.
And that's exactly what
Because
That's in the blood of them now.
Because my kids have a K-pop playlist.
Yeah.
And they've gone down to K-pop, J-pop, like they know all of it. And they watch tons of anime. But this I've seen them do with their friends. I've seen their friends' K-pop playlist.
And K-pop is actually like borderline
massive.
Well, K-pop is like borderline 90s, 2000s R&B.
Yeah.
So basically what's happening is everything is now out at once. It's not like when we grew up where you were limited by money and genre. Okay, I'm a black dude. I guess I'm gonna get in hip hop, whatever my parents listening to. You know, back in our day, it was record. Well, I sound old as fuck. It was if you worked at a record store, the guys that worked at the record stores were kings, and the guys that worked at radio stations because they got everything.
Everything, yeah.
And that's you talk about the state of like music and everything now, dude. There's genres popping up like like within weeks, there's new genres. There's over 20,000 tracks a day on Spotify.
A lot, yeah, shit ton. I mean, I listen to a lot of music that has, a lot of live instruments nowadays. There's a lot of modern soul. There's a lot of modern funk. There's like groups like Karangabin,
Okay.
Salt,
Salt
FKJ. Like, there's a lot of really cool stuff going on. That's younger people making music with live instruments.
Yeah.
That has a funky and soulful feel to it that is so much more compelling.
Yes.
Than another guy, over like the similar type of trap beat, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
But, again, one thing that we don't want to do is hip hop. We always said back then that we're not going to be the old men.
We did.
We always were like, we don't want to ever be the guy saying, you want real music? This is real music. And we'd put on, like KRS-One or something. But so I don't ever want to be that guy. We all understand.
Yeah.
The kids, hip hop evolves. That's the way hip hop is.
Yep.
It's meant to evolve. It's meant to always change. And it's meant for what appeals to a teenager now should not appeal to someone in their 40s or
Exactly.
50s. Now, you know what I mean? So we get it. And that's okay. I think it has been interesting to watch. If you were to draw like a graph of how hip hop and dance music, which meaning house, EDM together, how the scale has kind of shifted between the two over all these years, and how now it's kind of worked its way to the point where pretty much in any club you go to, you will probably hear some hip hop. It might be over a remix that has like a fast beat behind it, or it might be mashed up in this way or that way. But now we're at this point where hip hop has firmly, and it's not going anywhere. Like, it's never going to have that time like we have before, where it's like it may not necessarily be on every flyer, but you're going to pretty much, you tell me, most clubs nowadays, you're going to hear some representation of these sounds, at some point in the night. And the guys that really got there were those opening DJs like the Mighty Mai and people like that, who had to figure out how to bring these two things together. I found it interesting, Franzen, when you were saying that you would open up for the EDM guys by playing 2 hours of hip hop. And I'm just thinking, like, as the night goes on, the tempos are shifting so much. Yeah. And like whoever's the hard part is someone figuring out how to put that all together, And so there are people here in Vegas who are the hardworking not only opening, but the resident DJs, like the people in this room,
right,
who who had no choice over the years, but had to figure it out for themselves. Basically, you're thrown in the room. You know that some of the people want hip hop, some of the people want up tempo dance music, and you just have to figure out how to like please everybody. And that is the real art of party rocking, to me, is being able to balance all those factors and come out with some sound that makes sense for everybody.
And that's the really important thing, actually. That's the identity of the club, is actually the resident openers for the club.
I always felt that was the biggest mistake, and I say this because I was on the receiving end of this, is I always felt that the clubs needed to champion their resident DJ, similar to how Dre's is doing Franzen. He's on the flyers, doing stuff. I always thought that
there's only one Franzen.
When I was at Excess, that was the biggest mistake I made. I thought, okay, I was one of the biggest residence DJs at Excess. I had other DJs tell me how good I was, tell them how good I was. I thought for sure, okay, you guys should do more with me to promote the club. Now it's just my selfishness thinking my way. But I've always thought that was the major failure. For instance, if you take someone like a Franzen and you build up Franzen to a level where you could give him a Saturday night and people would still show up, you know how much money you're saving when you're paying Future like $250,000. And I remember having these talks with like Jesse and the higher ups to win, and it just was not happening. And I remember thinking like, you guys could save so much money if you did that. And Mighty Maya,
Yeah, no, you're so correct. It's always been this weird disconnect in Vegas where the guys that are working their ass off, who actually are keeping the room full, and actually are leading to bottle
know the
sales.
room better than anybody.
They're making sure that the party is strong. Are the ones that, when it comes to the marketing, would be overlooked often.
Facts.
In favor of the guest that's coming in, and sometimes, as we all know, the guest might bomb. I mean, it might not work. It might not draw a crowd. They might not do a good show. Whatever it may be, you have to throw it back to the local guy. And it was always this weird disconnect, especially with Win, about not promoting the guy that's there every day, but only promoting this guest. And you're right. It doesn't make sense because the smart move is build them up. Make the guy that lives in Vegas into a star.
Yes.
So that people want to come see that. You save so much money. But you also it's a positive for everybody. It's like, anyway. So
I had the same problem with Light Group when I first moved out here. The first 2 years at Light, me and Eddie McDonald was the resident DJ. They never promoted us once. They never put our names on a flyer, on a fucking poster, or anything.
Get them.
And we was holding the rooms down for 2 years. No other DJs. That club was open like 3 nights a week.
Tell them all you mad, son.
And it was just us rotating every other day, man.
I remember, but I was the asshole when I joined Light Group. That was like talking to Andrew Sasson and Andy Massey, like, yo, you got to put these guys on the flyer. And like, it became like the biggest issue, like the first 6 months I was there.
Yeah.
And then finally, you're like, Crooked, shut the fuck up. We're going to put names on the fucking flyer now.
The thing, and what that is that's just Vegas culture, because Vegas never helped any artists coming up. Like the Bay, if you were a Bay Area artist, you had Bay Area love. You still see it. A New York artist, same thing. Florida,
Philly.
Hometown. You got your hometown. Vegas, hometown heroes would not get shit. And it always threw me for a curve. Like, why are you guys doing this? Like, Afrojack or Avicii would come in and go, we want Warren, Deadmau5, we want Warren Oprah, Warren this, Warren that, come in, listen to the set, blah, 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 blah. And they would see all this stuff going on. I'm like, you guys should push me more. I should be one of the people that you guys push, because you're going to save a shit ton of money.
Right.
And of course, I'm being selfish thinking that, but from a money point of view, I always thought they should do that. And I would see it in other places. I'm like,
but it's also, you need the right people at these venues that see the work and they see what's going on and they're championing the people that work there. And that's really the thing that's changed, I think, in a lot of venues, is that I think they see DJs as interchangeable.
Oh, yeah.
The weirdest thing that I've seen recently in the past, 5 or so years, is like these venues are rotating their openers. I'm like, why would you ever do that?
Yeah.
Like, like me and Ever were talking about that. Why would you rotate openers? The opener's supposed to know that room and know how to open and close it.
Yeah.
Now you're rotating a bunch of DJs that don't know that room.
Yeah.
Or they're like, stick to one venue. Like, yo, you're going to handle this. You really do well in this room. Stay here. You stay over here. There's a little bit more EDM. You do this room. They're like rotating everybody.
Yeah.
So there's no identity anywhere you go.
I always thought, especially the Win, I always thought there was a major fail when they thought that the DJ was running the room and not the room. And you would see, I saw that, and it took a while for me to realize how people inside Vegas sleep on Vegas. Because if you're coming from out of town and you go to a nightclub, that's the club you're going to, and this is the most amazing club ever. And people in Vegas would not see that. People in Vegas see from the inside looking inside. They don't see from the outside looking in. And I remember sitting by the stairs at the Win and seeing that grand reveal when you go up the stairs. And I don't know how many people would stumble and fall down those stairs because they're like, oh my God. And I was like, dude, you could have a monkey DJing right now. It doesn't matter. This is the draw.
And that was such a pivotal, and this is now a separate type of topic, but that was the pivotal moment for XS, because when they launched, the DJ was literally hidden. It was like you guys were like behind a wall, behind like a cut in the wall.
Yeah.
And that happened at Tris too, didn't it?
Yeah.
And then they moved it, and then someone had the very obvious idea when you walk in, you see that amazing sort of vista of like, you know, you see the outside, you see fountains, you see this huge, beautiful space. Put the DJ right there in the fucking middle. That's where the DJ should be. And then finally, that's kind of when everyone shifted towards these DJ-centric, headliner type things all over the city. It was that sort of, XS was always sort of the poster boy for hip hop. I mean, for nightlife in Vegas, and for, you know, making all the moves that kind of led the way for the big rooms. Anyway.
No, without a that club was. I mean, I know we're not talking about hip hop, but that club was. You know, I remember when me and Dave first started programming that club, we said we're going to spin house because we wanted to go the exact opposite everyone else was going. And I remember my friends would come in there and be like, "What the fuck are you playing?" Perfect story. Melody, his wife came in and she came home 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Melody's like, "Well, how was it?" And she was like, "It was amazing." And of course, the DJ, what did he play? What songs? And she was like, "I don't know what the fuck they were playing, but it was absolutely amazing. I had the best time ever." And then Melody came back and he heard me spin. He was like, "Dude, I don't know what the fuck you were playing. I don't know one of those songs." And he's like, "But you got people moving." And he started doing homework from that point on.
Yeah.
But Win, I always felt Win was like not one of my proudest moments, but probably tied for number one. It was always Win. It's hard to say Raw all the way in, but I can't.
It's two different eras.
Yeah, but
you lived two golden eras. I like to say I lived through two golden eras.
And I think that was my most proud achievement in Vegas, is the fact that I was able to pivot like that from one top of the game here and then go to the top of the game over here.
Yeah.
That was my one thing. I was like, okay, I'm kind of cool with this.
Bringing the DJ to like center stage was like a blessing and a curse, because I don't know about your opinion, but I'm curious to know your opinion. Does that? I know that formula works well with EDM. Does that formula work well with hip hop in a hip hop room? And I think it's kind of, I don't know. I always thought it's not the best formula for hip hop.
When my DJ booth moved from the pit to the stage, I was kind of like, man, this is different. You know what I mean? Because when you're in the pit, you can connect with the people more. That's the one thing I definitely try to do when I'm DJing. I like connecting with the people, you know, making sure everybody feels welcome.
You mean the people, like the people in the front or in the
everybody, whether they're, you know, in the crowd, VIP.
Wait, explain the pit and the front stage. The pit is a little bit more back.
Pit, no, you remember the pit used to be like down, not on the stage.
DJ used to be on the floor. You DJ'd there.
You were DJing.
Okay.
Yeah, remember it was on the floor and they had and there was like a stage. It wasn't the big stage.
Table?
So the DJ booth, when you say it was in the pit, it was like kind of like
level
where the
with the
crowd
dance floor.
It was level. It was a half moon on the dance floor. You spun there when it was like
I know. My memory shit.
Yeah. No, so it was like
smoking on, man.
Yeah, it was, and then they moved. They built the stage and they started like
when it started getting elevated, and you couldn't even tell where the DJ was a little bit, right? Yeah. So it was harder.
It got kind of weird and harder to connect with the crowd, but you know, I figured it out. You know what I mean? I've been in that room going on 9 years in January. So,
damn,
crazy.
It's my longest residency ever.
Damn.
It's got to be one of the records for any DJ residency.
Yeah.
You know, for any genre.
I don't know. Fergie is still at Wet Republic.
Okay.
You know what? Actually, I think maybe 5.
I was gonna say 5
at
Tao.
at Worship Thursdays.
Oh shit!
I think that was like 11.
I think he was there for like
12 years.
Yeah,
no
12,
more.
a
Way
long
more.
time.
Shout
Still
to 5.
going.
He's involved in the hip hop story.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. When I got here, 5 and Justin Hoffman DJing at the House of Blues.
Yes,
Right.
correct.
Foundation Room. Excuse me.
Foundation Room was
And that was a vibe.
Shout to Mike Fuller, right?
5 was one of our first employees at Hip Hop Site.
that Foundation Room, Hip Hop Room was some real shit. That was a
Mondays,
crazy,
right?
Monday
It was
nights.
Godspeed. I actually did it with Justin Hoffman later on. Before
That's what
Justin
it was
would wear
called,
his red
Godspeed.
sweatpants every night. He wore the same thing. No,
Yes,
but it was
exactly,
no,
yeah.
but it was a good party. That was like that was the first time I saw the real sort of hip scene of Vegas. It was like pimps and people hanging out.
You seen pimps, you seen prostitutes. I
Everything
remember one
in there.
night I seen
Yeah.
Michael Jordan there with 3 snow bunnies with a stogie walking through.
Nice.
I was like,
Yes.
And you got to understand, this is a time when 5 and Justin were playing vinyl still.
They're playing like Gangstar and shit like
Yeah.
that. They're
Yes,
playing like
yes.
it's great.
playing Scenario remix.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It was
Shout out to DJ 5, man. He's been in it a long time. He was doing V-Bar too, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. He was a
5's done everything, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In this city.
He used to
5's
stand
been
behind the
around.
counter at Hip Hop Site.
Yes, I'm telling you, 5. I
Yes.
will never let him down. 5 used to work for me at Hip Hop Site.
your
think that's
best
the first
employee,
time-
right?
Yeah,
Ever?
exactly.
First time I met Five was at Hip Hop site.
I remember he would cut behind the cash register. There was like a turntable near the cash register.
Yes.
And I
practice.
would walk in, I'd see Five cutting like right behind the cash register.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a time right there.
That was a time.
That was cool.
Wow, Foundation Room was crazy.
That's an important one. It was Eddie in one room. It was Mike Fuller, Eddie, and Justin were the three main DJs. Eddie was playing classics, and I remember the first record I ever met Eddie. I walked into the room. It was Earth, Wind, and Fire. Let's Groove Tonight. It was Let's Groove Tonight, and the other room was Justin playing like real New York City hip hop. And then the other room was house, basically.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was a good party.
One of the things I wanted to bring up was that, during the early 2000s and even the 90s, there was this separation of like hip hop and house. And it started to come together kind of towards the late 2000s. But for me in New York, it was happening in the early 2000s. But I remember this is how even you and Eddie met. Where there was like every venue, they wanted to mix house and hip hop. So they'd hire a house DJ and they hire a hip hop DJ. And it was like the hip hop DJ would bring his crates of records, the house DJ would bring their crates of records, and they would like intermingle. And I don't know if there was an agreement on like you do 20, 30 minutes, I do 20, 30 minutes. And even when I went to R.O.A.D,
We did that on Saturdays.
yeah,
Me and
so
Joey King,
yeah. So the first time I went to R.O.A.D, it was literally that formula where I went there, and it would be like I was a hip hop head, so I was jamming out, and I'm assuming that's when you were DJing.
Yeah.
And I would hear like next episode we were wilding out,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden we'd hear house,
Yep.
and I'd be like, and then I remember at the time I'm like, what the fuck is this DJ doing?
Yeah.
Like why are they mixing it up like this? And where's these segments? So it's like when house came on, it's like all right, let's go get a drink.
Yeah.
Right.
And then towards in New York, what started happening, and Serato actually helped us a lot, but it was happening with vinyl, was that the DJs, like I started having to like DJ rooms where they wanted house and hip hop. So like it was just more affordable to hire one DJ
Yeah.
who could play both of them. So that started like mashing up, and to the point to where it got to where it is now, where it's like it's intermingling with EDM and house. But that's how you and Eddie met.
Me and Eddie used to DJ in the Hamptons together. I would start the night off with hip hop. I do from 10 to 12 hip hop, and Eddie would do from 12 to 4 house.
What year was this?
Actually, 10 to 12:30 or 1 o'clock.
What year was this?
This is like this is 2000. 2001. And then when Eddie moved to Vegas in 2002, they finally let me do the main room by myself. And I learned how to do house and hip hop to combine it together. And that was like...
But that was you and Eddie helping each other too, right?
Yeah, Eddie showed me he told me which records he played, how to rock that room, and because of him, I would learn how to play house.
And also, you're listening to his set while
I'm
you're
hanging out
off.
there.
Yeah.
Exactly. He would listen to my set, so we would both help each other out.
Yeah, Eddie's like, yo, I got to do a hip hop room. What are the hip hop
Yeah,
records?
yeah,
What were these records that you played? And you'd be like, yo, you need this, you need that,
Exactly,
and whatever. Yeah.
I think that was one of Shek's biggest credits to his whole journey was the fact that, so usually what happened is the higher ups were all business people. They didn't want to spend any money. They want to give the DJ as cheap amount of money as possible. And then you had an artistic person like Shek would walk in and go, no, we need to do this. We need to do this. And Shek was like the voice that people would actually, the Winds and whoever else you were dealing with at the time would actually listen to. If you guys came in and said, hey, we need to do this, the same DJ can do hip hop house, the guy would be like, get the fuck out of here. But if Shek walked in and said, hey, this guy can do this and this, we'll divide it like that. Like he was the voice of the artistic voice and the voice of ideas, I guess I want to say, that would come in and go, no, we can do this, this, and this. And they would, listen to Shek and trust Shek more from the point of view. And they would start doing it. I remember a couple times coming visiting Shek at his office and just talking, and that's when I would pick his brain. I was like, damn, you're right. You gotta.
Which office? You mean when the game office was? Or,
No, at Win.
Oh, when we were at Win.
When you were at
I was
Win,
Win.
yeah, because when the game office was over and we'd go and talking, and we'd bitch a little bit, but Shek would always be like, well, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, I see what he's doing. He's finessing this whole corporate thing. Because I never worked for anyone. I mean, Costco's like the only job I really worked for anybody. So, and I was on the hot dog cart, I'd do anything I want. So I would talk to Shek, and Shek would kind of be like, no, you can't approach it like that. You have to do it like this. And that's why I kind of learned.
Shek, you were navigating the hip hop world and the EDM world together. You were kind of trying to put it together.
Yeah.
Like we were just speaking of, and you were instrumental in bringing those worlds together, right?
There was thanks for that, Warren. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, there was times when they were both in play at the same time, and that's why I brought up examples like the way the opening DJ would have to bring those things together, like Milo and so forth. But there was also times when, for example, after AM passed away, we did that big party. We had Jazzy Jeff. That was when he famously got pulled off the turntable.
Right.
That was at the Win?
That was at Win, yes. By the way, that's all in the past. It's come full circle. It's come full circle, and no, it's not even an edit. It's all good because Jeff, is still to this day obviously one of the best. And I think Jeff has only gotten better with time. Let me just say that.
Yeah.
Jeff, I've seen Jeff play in Vegas all those years, dating back to the 2000 forward. I saw him play in Vegas a dozen times or more, and I think the last few times I've seen him, it was the best. He is getting better and better, and he's now it's like this flawless landscape, the soundscape where it's one thing into the next with that kind of rhythmic scratching in between, and it's all genres and all tempos and different eras and all that stuff. And so Jeff is the master of the game and has gotten better. Even maybe in the early days, I might not have liked his set as much because he was playing more of like kind of maybe what he thought they wanted. He wasn't really putting as much into it. But yes, there were a lot of times when we had to navigate some of the corporate stuff. And, listen, even in the corporate era, when a big EDM guy would come in, sometimes they would bomb. Sometimes they wouldn't sell tickets. Yeah. Sometimes they wouldn't do a good show. There was always there was challenges and surprises on all the genres. It wasn't only hip hop or only EDM. But yeah, there was it's come a long way. I think now, like, I still think that you still, as you said earlier, Crooked, I think when you go to a club, you kind of want to know what you're going to get. You kind of want to know, like, what it is. Like, is it going to be, what's the energy level going to be like? And so that is kind of lacking nowadays. You don't really know, except for maybe when you see a big headliner like a Diplo or a Tiesto or something like that. But other than that, people don't really know. So it's up to these guys to kind of play everything.
And nowadays, everything is everything. You got Afro beats, you got Latin, you got hip hop, you got.
We asked this before. Is anyone playing Afro beats? Remember when we did the EDM house episode here?
Yeah.
I brought up Afro beats because I was curious. Are you hearing it anywhere or not really?
I think Afro beats. I think we spoke a little bit about this with DJ MoMA, but it's become kind of the soundtrack for like new R&B, lounge, grown and sexy music.
Yes.
So it's very early or late in the night. And it's one of those things that's perfect for like a sexy new upscale lounge restaurant. You kind of want to hear that Afro beats in the background, and it's become like the new soundtrack for grown and sexy.
I would say yes, but no. So me and Dave do a reggae event every summer. This is the fourth year. Every summer we do Downtown Grand, and it's mostly Afro beats, calypso, and reggae
for sure. Yeah,
and soca. And you guys should come. We have Sister Nancy Memorial Day.
I didn't even know that you were doing it.
Yeah, you guys probably working. But yeah, Sister Nancy Memorial Day weekend. So we just had Walshy Fire.
Wow.
And Walshy Fire played, and I think you said it. He was like, he got off the decks. He was like, I didn't know there were this many black people in Vegas. Like, he was like, I'm coming back. I'm doing this again. So Walshy Fire will be back on the over 14th. But you guys want to see a DJ play Afro beats, like an EDM guy does play house? Come see Walshy Fire.
Yeah. And see, that's the thing. I'm talking on a very commercial.
Right. No. Yeah, I'm talking very specialized.
Yeah. But in your scene, in the Afro beats Amapiano scene, Amapiano would almost be seen as EDM.
That's the house. Yeah.
That's the up tempo.
It's very pretty music. If anyone's never heard it or is curious about it, it's very beautiful.
It's also like groundbreaking. The percussion placements on Amapiano, it's like you've never heard it in any kind of music.
It's like shakers and all this cool stuff going on.
Well, no, but it's like these bass and kick, there's like different tones
patterns,
of kick patterns, and it's like, it's really unpredictable to the point where even if I'm listening to it, I'm studying the music, I don't even know when it's going to hit.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, boom, 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 boom. But there's these different tones, and it's the first time I've heard that kind of percussion being used. And it's like, there's going to be a day when an EDM house, everything comes together with Amapiano, and it's already kind of happening a little bit.
It is.
But Amapiano is the dance music, and like it's big in Europe, and it's creeping into the States, but it's huge. It is the dance music.
The whole Spotify thing I was talking about earlier, you still have like Habib Beats.
Hobby Beats, amazing.
Yeah, his genre that he's doing.
He's one of the people crossing everything. He's
and
doing,
I talked to him about a few months ago. And I said, dude, you're on the path.
Right.
I said, it's coming. I said, the same thing happened with Latin. I go, it's happening with Afro beats right now.
and Arabic music. Right?
Yeah, and you're next.
Yeah.
I go, stay right there. You're right there. And that's because of Spotify.
Yeah.
Because
it gives me
everything's there.
It gives me goosebumps, like talking about Hobby Beats and like, you know, just people who like lead this new wave of music that like the commercial audience in America doesn't know about.
I'm telling you, Walshy Fire, when he plays not the Major Lazer set, when he plays the set, he's coming back October 14th. You really need to come see him.
Wait, what's the name of this party? Where is it at?
It's called Reggae on the Roof. This is the 4th year we've done it. We do it downtown Grand. It's a nighttime pool party. It happens. Actually, one's happening August 11th, this Friday.
Is it like every season or every?
Yeah, every pool season we do it.
Oh, wow.
And we've been doing it for 4 years. We had Walshy Fire. We have Sister Nancy coming. We're working on Wayne Wonder.
Wow.
We're working on a bunch of, it's just picking a genre that no one's fucking with in Vegas and going after it.
I want to go back really quick with you, Shecky, because I want to talk about when you were like in these board meetings or when you were like initially trying to bring like and talking about bringing hip hop DJs to Vegas, you know, kind of at Light and Bellagio and all these things that were happening. What was the biggest obstacle that you saw during this time from a corporate perspective? And even, you know, even when I say corporate, I don't even think nightlife at that time was that corporate. It really wasn't. But, you know, from a nightclub perspective, operating in a casino, and I know casino's very corporate, what was the biggest obstacle that you saw?
You know, when I think back, this is going to sound like a cliche, but I remember seeing more opportunity than I saw obstacle.
Nice.
Like I remember because it was maybe in a selfish way because I personally knew Stretch, AM, Mark Ronson, and I knew how big they were in New York and LA. I saw the opportunity that if they came to Vegas, we could probably try to capture that energy here.
Right.
And so maybe because, and this is to be totally frank, because they were white.
Right.
It was less of those roadblocks. I mean, I don't know if that's true or not.
That's 100% true.
Yeah.
Probably true.
It's 100, never.
Because they were white.
Never.
That's true.
Listen,
I mean, it's probably made it a lot easier for everyone to swallow. They saw, and I mentioned this before, we did this flyer series. It was like baseball cards. And one of the cards was AM, Stretch, Ronson, and Eddie. And it was like...
Flash.
And Grandmaster Flash was a card too. Was he really? I think so.
Yeah, the card, yeah.
Yeah.
He had a small run.
There was a series because it was it was the Big City DJ series, and it was Sundays. It was a bunch of Sundays in a row, and that was the biggest night at Light. So it was like they put and again, this was created from really just Sean Christie and I planning it, just him and I, because he had the power to and again, they were, you know, these guys were getting paid back then maybe $1,500 or something like that. It wasn't like it was. The big money had not started yet.
Yeah.
I think AM got $2,500, and that was like that was maybe the biggest obstacle is getting that approved, getting that budget approved, because, and I remember afterwards, Sean said, and he was so right, he's like, okay, we spent $2,500, but as soon as after this night, there's going to be someone down the block that's going to offer $3,000. And that's like literally exactly what happened with the Hard Rock, with Body English at the Hard Rock. And AM had a relationship with a guy named Brent Bolthouse, who was, and that's why he went over there, but they offered more money also. But the challenge was really, you know, it was more of the I knew that Vegas was starting to become more like a big city, New York City type environment, in Miami, New York, you know, and I saw the opportunity to bring these guys in. So that was the pathway. There weren't any real obstacles. We weren't really using the word hip hop, so that was maybe, you know, we sidestepped that.
They didn't look hip hop.
They don't look hip hop. AM he would wear a lot of polo shirts back then. He had the mohawk. He had like the faux hawk.
And
remember?
this is Big AM, right?
No, it wasn't.
Oh,
He had already...
He lost the weight.
Right in between those two things I described, because I did that V-bar party, and he was still Big AM, and then a few months passed, and he came back as Skinny AM for the Light.
That was
I remember
fast.
Big AM came to DJ at Light in 2002. And it was funny. I went to
Big AM was that? Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe I'm wrong about
No, 2002. And then like in 2003, I remember Andrew Sassoon had me and Eddie go to LA to check out AM because AM was about to do Body English. And he was like, yo, you got to check this DJ out. And we went to see AM, and I kept looking in the booth, and I'm like, that's not AM. He's not big.
That's just
skinny. He's just skinny.
The A is gone. That's just M.
But it sounded like him though. It was like I was like, that got to be a fucking mixtape or something. That's not AM.
That's Clinton Sparks up there.
So yeah, and this is weird because I know we've been here for a long time, and we all probably have to go soon. But
yeah, sorry about that.
But it's okay. But I know just because now as a listener of the show, and like all the fans, when Clinton came on, he said a lot of crazy shit.
Yeah,
a lot of it we have not addressed. We probably don't have time to address all of it. But I would like to put you on the spot a little bit and ask about what he said, the most ridiculous thing he said.
Yeah.
Which was, I am hip hop, you are Asian.
Yeah.
Which
What?
Which was
play him that clip too, Crooked.
Never. You
I
didn't
hear
throw
that.
anything
I
at
didn't
him?
hear that.
You didn't
hear
go like,
that?
what the fuck am I?
I didn't hear that. What?
and again, listen.
Hold up. I am Asian. Hold up.
Here you go.
Here, I'll play it for you guys.
I am hip hop, you are Asian.
I've never heard that one.
When you went on E! News, some of us were like, oh man, he
So
turned
down.
his
So
back
down.
on hip hop. You started making like EDM songs. We felt like we were abandoned.
We started getting into the snap rap era. All this, I'm like, this is weak as.
Probably one of the most prevalent sounds that are still relevant.
And this is at the time when I signed DJ Snake. I'm listening to music over there like boom, 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 boom. I'm like, this is hard as shit. And I'm the guy that slowed it down to go boom, 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 boom. D Block. I put Big Sean, Rick Ross, G Unit, all these motherfuckers on EDM and house music before it even got here. This is what's going to be next that's hot in hip hop.
I don't know if that was hip hop.
Kid Cudi is a rapper.
He had
What's
a
the
remix
biggest
by the
EDM
Clippers,
song
yeah.
that you play today still? You're saying Kid Cudi's not hip hop?
Oh, that was a remix. As a club DJ, it was very apparent what was obvious club music with Guetta getting Nicki Minaj on a record or Usher on a record. Everyone's trying to get a bag. I don't know if that's necessarily to push hip hop forward.
All I know is I am hip hop. So if I do something, it's hip hop because I am hip hop. Just like if you're Asian and you do something, an Asian did it, regardless what it is. You're an Asian at the core of who you are. So an Asian did this. I'm hip hop to the core. So if I play a guitar, doesn't mean I'm not hip hop anymore because I played a guitar because I am hip hop.
Yeah.
wow.
What's your thoughts, gentlemen?
I'm more disappointed I never didn't throw a mic at him.
What was it like?
I try to stay cool, man.
What was it like in the room? I mean, before we give the thoughts, because I mean, look, man, like, I'm from the school where KRS-One said, I am hip hop. That when someone says, I am hip hop, I think of KRS-One, a guy that is hip hop.
The teacher.
He walks around, embodies hip hop. Now, and I'm not saying Clinton didn't do some stuff in hip hop. Sure, he did. But to make that, it's crazy. But what I'm really curious about is when he was saying that crazy shit, what was happening with you guys in the room? Were you guys looking at each other? Were you?
Yeah, we were like,
We was definitely looking at each other, yeah.
I was more so like, yo, you are hanging yourself up, and I'm not gonna stop you.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, you are bold. You came in here and you said some shit already, and by this point, he had said that he had helped.
He was just throwing more fuel in the fire.
He had said he went out his way and said, yo, I was the reason why World Star Hip Hop happened. Like he went off and said that. Like I gave Q that idea, so he kept just hanging himself. And at this point, when he claimed, yo, I brought hip hop to Vegas, I was like, yo, this motherfucker's just gonna say anything, and he thought we were gonna agree with him. So that's why we stopped him in his tracks. But once he said that Asian part, that Asian part, at this point I was like, yo, you are going on your own rails, and let you do what you got to do. And obviously, it was he regretted it.
Yes, I mean, I don't think. I let me just say this: I don't believe that he is a racist person.
No,
I don't. I know that he's not. He's been around every ethnicity, just like any of us in the hip hop world. We've all been around literally every ethnicity. Okay, no one who's really working in hip hop is racist. Okay?
Yeah, no.
But the way he framed that makes no sense. What he really should have said was, "You are Asian. I am Caucasian." Yeah, that's what he should have said. If he's going to say it the right way, at the core of who I am, but what happened? How do you interpret that whole exchange?
So like when I'm doing this podcast, I can't help but look at it from a producer angle.
Yeah.
So I have to look at it from a producer angle. So I'm saying inside when he said that, I was like, okay, do I react to this? Do I get upset? I wasn't offended. I actually looked at him and I said, wow, like I think his ego just came into play.
Yeah.
Because what was going on in his head was this. Who is this dude? Who is this Asian guy to question what I do in hip hop? After everything I've done in hip hop, I've been in a room with 50 Cent. I've been in a room with every hip hop legend in the world. And this guy is just an Asian DJ. So I think his ego came into play. He's like, you're questioning me and how hip hop I am, even though I did EDM. Anything I do is hip hop because I am hip hop. You're just an Asian guy. And I think that's what came out of his
ego. You're right.
His ego came into play. And I think it came out the wrong way. His way of saying like you're an Asian guy was probably saying like you ain't shit. You're just a regular dude.
Yeah.
You're just an Asian dude. So like you do Asian shit.
Mm-hmm. But when you describe like Franzen's grind in Las Vegas, just your Las Vegas chapter.
Yeah.
That is hip hop to me. You just like kept your head down and kept doing it and doing it.
Yeah.
Yet he's not coming in here. Not once did Franzen say, "I am hip hop."
No.
Right. So there is a humility that we want to see among each other when people who have been around the music industry for a long time. You don't want to hang around someone that's starting to brag and even say bullshit things that they've done.
Yeah.
All of us could go up here and brag about other shit that we've done, but we don't want to be around those kind of people.
Yeah.
But
so the choice to come in and in a room of Las Vegas DJs and make claims about what happened in Las Vegas, it's like going into like the Chicago Bulls and saying, that you taught them how to play basketball. I don't know. Like, I'm just saying it's like some outlandish shit.
But you know what it also told me? Throughout the whole interview, what it told me is like, oh, he hasn't been around hip hop people
in a long time.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
that's right.
The reason why you can't say certain shit about hip hop is because if you still hanging around hip hop motherfuckers, they're going to put you in check. And they're going to say like, yo, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
And then when he started going off, I said, oh, he's really hasn't been around these motherfuckers. Like and I've told Shecky this, what he reminded me of was a dude that was going into a corporate room and trying to sell hip hop. He was like, yo,
right.
like literally like, yo, you don't know, like I got to impress these motherfuckers in the corporate, in the room. I need the sponsorship or I need this investment capital. So I'm going to tell them I did all these things in hip hop.
You need all the bullet points.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yo, like I was the first one to bring hip hop in Vegas. So the room of corporate motherfuckers and millennials are like, oh, wow, you did? Crazy.
And we were like,
he believed his own bullshit.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show he was doing that for like maybe 8 to 10 years.
Yeah.
Just selling hip hop after like he went to he saw all the big money when he went to like the E channel. He started doing EDM. He saw all this big money coming in. And I think he just got caught up in this corporate pitch.
Yeah.
He was in like corporate pitch mode.
Yeah, you're right.
Of like, hey, like,
right.
hey, World Star? That was my idea.
Yeah.
Like, hey, like this, that. And it just, when I was listening to him, I'm like, oh shit, like he hasn't been around real motherfuckers because you can't say that shit. Like if I went to the block and I started saying all this shit about, I did this, I did that, they would put me in check with a lot of shit.
Yeah.
So like he just needed to, and you know what happened is that hip hop did put him in check.
It's true.
Because when that clip went out, everyone in hip hop that he hasn't
not just hip hop, just DJs and
all the DJs.
Yeah.
They put him in check.
Yeah.
And he had to what? He had to like apologize to everybody. And I know he sent DMs and messages to every single body and apologized to them. And I give him that. I give him that he knew what he did was wrong. And you know what? That clip where he said like, I'm hip hop, you're Asian. I took that clip down.
By the way, I did not agree with that.
Yeah. We had a vote.
Yeah, I thought we should
Never-
have kept it.
I'll be honest right now. I said, yo, if that clip is going down, I'm taking the whole fucking episode down.
Yeah.
Because I'm not giving you the benefit of the doubt how to fucking tell me how to run our platform, which you asked to come on, and then you fucking backpedal once you know the shit hit you in the face. When all the DJs, when Cricket said, we're not offended, but we know motherfuckers who are going to get offended.
Yeah.
We knew the fucking fire was coming.
The thing was I was offended. But I can't, I got to keep the interview.
You got to be the producer.
You handled it really well.
Yeah, you got to handle professionally.
Props to Crooked and all you guys, because you guys handled it well. You didn't overreact, and that's great. You shouldn't. Look what happened, when Letterman was on and Andy Kaufman got slapped, And Letterman didn't freak out. He just like still did the show. You have to still do the show.
The show's gonna go on, and guess what? You're gonna burn yourself. You're gonna hang yourself, and that's gonna be on your merit.
But that's the thing, is that I have to let the listeners react.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and the thing is, like, the importance of this show is that some of the listeners who are uninformed and a little, like, you know, naive to the, you know, the music industry and the nightlife industry, they were believing what he was saying.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important that we have this episode to counter that. But for me to counter it at the time, I thought it was even maybe better for him to say what he needed to say, and us to kind of like push back a little bit in a courteous way. Like, I just want to show motherfuckers that courtesy. But
you didn't take it down. It's still online, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, we did take the clip down because
Just the sampler part, but the whole full episode.
that one video clip, because we made a video clip of him with that scene that I just played for you, right? That was I'm hip hop, you're Asian. I took it down because I had a 90-minute conversation with that dude. And ultimately what was happening was that we know he's not racist. It was an ignorant fucking comment. But I think everyone was calling, you know, the climate of social media now.
Right.
He would have been pinned a racist. Not only that, you know, his family, his wife, his kids, you know, his wife dropping off the kids to school. In my head, you know, you're married to that racist, you know, your husband's a racist. Or, you know, like, I don't know what's going to happen with the kids. I don't know how big that clip's going to get.
Right.
And who's going to see it. So these guys told me, leave it up. And I, you know, in my head, I was like, I'm going to leave it up. That night when I went to sleep, I just kept thinking of like who it was affecting his family. And I think it was unfair that people could take this content and pin him as a racist.
When you knew he wasn't.
When I knew he wasn't.
That's good, dude. That's
so
good.
then I took the clip down in the middle of the night. It was like midnight, right?
It was like 2 a.m.
It was 2 a.m. Because I couldn't sleep. And I texted these motherfuckers. I said, yo, I took the clip down. They were pissed at me. But ultimately,
I was more on like, yo, you do stupid things, you win stupid prizes.
Yeah.
But Cricket was like, yo, you need to do this.
I'm saying, in my 90-minute conversation with him, the conversation I had, I'm not going to say what he said to me, you know, verbatim, but he offended me more in that 90-minute conversation than he did in an interview.
Wow.
Damn.
Because I just saw certain things come out, and the way he was talking to me, you wouldn't even believe how many people called me and texted me that had prior experience with him.
Oh, a ton.
Like 20 years, 15 years of working with him. And I was just kind of like, okay, you know, I sat down, after the conversation, I'm like, wow, this guy's a piece of work. And I said, we took this clip down, and I told him on the phone, I said, look, I'm going to put some other clips there. You know what I'm saying? So, but I don't want you fucking calling me, telling me to take every fucking clip down because you said what you said.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, I'm going to take this clip down because I don't think you're racist and I think this is unfair. And this is affecting your family. But all this other shit you said, yo,
that's on you.
You better believe that I'm going to fucking put some clips out. You're going to have to be accountable for whatever the fuck you said.
That's good.
And that's exactly what I did. And I let hip hop react. And that's what happened. There's a clip that said, you know, I was the first one to say my name on songs and all of this shit. And who fucking commented? Pete Rock. You know what I'm saying? Wow. It's just like I let hip hop like react to the shit, which is exactly what I told these dudes. I said, look, we don't need this clip. We have all these other clips and everyone's going to react. And that's who should react. Do you know what I'm saying? And I mean, that's what it is. We've never done this before too. I've had crazy episodes similar to this where a DJ was in a dark place and maybe they were like talking shit or they were trying to big themselves up. And I knew they were just in an insecure place where they were trying to just, you know, let their ego was getting caught up. And I never put out those episodes because I cared about those DJs and I cared about their livelihood. And I've told them, they used to like hate on me like, yo, you're not putting my shit out? Like, yo, that's fucked up. They would even go on Twitter and be like, yo, man, they would talk shit a little, like send some subs at us. And the whole time they're like hating on me and shitting on me and thinking I'm trying to fuck with them. I'm literally trying to protect them.
Saving them. Yeah.
I'm trying to, you know, and the whole thing is like, some of them we re-recorded the episodes when I was like, yo, you're in a better place now. Like, let's do the episode. And they fucking thanked, like recently, one of them thanked me after listening to the Clinton Sparks episode. And they were like, yo, thank you. Like, I realized, you know, I almost sounded like this motherfucker, you know, but it's like I'm in a different place now. So like, you know, this is the first time we released something like this that I kind of knew there would be a negative response to the DJ because I don't want to do that to fucking DJs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And you know, crazy thing is people were asking me, are you offended by this comment?
Yeah.
to me, I was like, people are going to say what they want to say and what they want to believe, but I knew it was going to bring us together for this conversation. And that was like one of the most pertinent, important things to me, that to get myself, Shecky, Warren, you guys in the room and actually have a conversation, because this conversation is very important to the culture of, hip hop in Vegas. You know what I mean?
And it's actually a beautiful thing. I'm looking at it now. Like, we're talking about like the history of hip hop in Las Vegas here, and look how diverse this room is.
Oh yeah.
It's actually a really beautiful thing. Like, when I look at it now,
it just hit me.
Right? It's really like kind of a beautiful
It's the
thing.
Rainbow Coalition.
We're allies.
If you want to dive deeper, man, I'll give you Frankie and Rob's number. They did.
I think that'd be great. Yeah.
It's deeper than me.
And also, I wanted to say, when we spoke a few days, right? Actually, the reason we spoke is because I saw that the clip was pulled off Twitter, and I was curious if it was because he asked you to. And I called Crooked and asked him, and he said yes, it was, and he told me that story. But then I started feeling like it was almost like a therapy session for you, Crooked, and in a good way. I felt that this opportunity. This was the adversity that you were feeling, and it was very genuine, and it made me honestly have even more respect for you as what you got, for all of you guys, for what you're doing here, because you felt the pressure. Like you told me, you felt how it might impact his family, but you also felt the pressure of wanting the show to be a quality show and all the factors involved. And you really kind of expressed that during that conversation, and it made me realize that's when we kind of, again, full circle, had this idea, like the way to solve it is not to simply just bash this guy who said these stupid things, but more so, let's spin it positive and say, okay, let's tell the story of what happened, and let's use it as an opportunity to get the right information out there.
I didn't know this was going to be almost a 3-hour episode.
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
No.
You did know it.
Yo, War and Peace, Franzen, Shecky Green. I just got to say, you know what? Like, I'm so glad we got together. Like, honestly, when do we get together like this? Like, almost never.
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 But I'm just glad we got together and like set the record straight, but also just talk about the history of the city and hip hop in this city. And I want to thank you guys, man, for being pivotal figures in this industry, in this world, and pushing the culture forward throughout the whole way. Thank you guys.
And thank you for
our pleasure.
And thank you for always coming on the podcast, even on our early days. You guys were the top 50.
That was like our first guest that came on our podcast.
Yeah, you guys didn't know what you guys were walking into, but thank you for giving.
Yeah, you like humored us. You were like, yeah, we'll come on. That really meant a lot to us, because it was like, it was like a podcast. It was just like, you guys could have easily shit on this, but you guys always showed us.
I think Franzen was sick the first time. He was eating a soup right before we were
What year was that? What year?
2018. Top 18.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because we started in 2017.
Yeah.
And we didn't have guests till 18. Yeah. So
Going on 6 years, huh?
6 years.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Almost 300 episodes in. This will be 288.
Congratulations.
But thank you guys. I appreciate it. Yeah.
right,
Appreciate
Thanks for having us, man.
If you want to watch more episodes from R.O.A.D Podcast, click either links on the left or the right. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page and get updated on new uploads throughout the week. Peace.